we were on Taco Bell, and I just saw a kid got arrested for farting in a taco.
Oh,
Like that
really?
work there?
You can get arrested for farting in a taco?
The employee.
I thought that was a
I wish
case.
I would've
Making
known
the
that.
taco.
Lock me up.
Yeah, the customer was like super rude to him, so he took a taco back to the freezer.
Yeah, yeah. They
and
catch you on
he got
camera
arrested.
or something?
He got arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how they proved it.
Well,
Here's a side of cup of cheese with your burrito.
it could be tested and confirmed.
Little particles.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I watched that episode of Mythbusters. It was pretty gross.
It was pretty gross.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah.
Pink eye?
Well, yeah. That's probably what happened. He got pink eye and just blamed him.
He knew.
Yeah. No, I think one of the things was that they put a toothbrush in the bathroom and then tested it.
Oh.
And, that toilets will clear over there, and it's, over on the sink, but that's just...
I never want to watch that episode.
It's a rough one.
Yeah.
It's a rough one.
Not if you're a germaphobe, man.
You walk away different.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those things, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, It's like playing in the dirt and,
Yeah.
Being introduced to germs. If you,
You know,
put yourself in a bubble, then you, can't handle things that are thrown at you.
Yeah, but at the same token, like you're saying, you don't want to watch that episode. Sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Right.
Just, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
No.
I've made it this far.
But I want to take this opportunity to, one, to thank you, everyone, for listening, and then also to introduce our guests this evening. We have Nate and Erin Bunn. We really thank you for coming here, joining us. Nate is the fearless leader of the band Caddywhompus Band out of Independence, Kansas, and his lovely wife Erin is a gardener, teacher, mother, and just all around badass. So thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
We're excited about it. So this is Off the Edge podcast, and we are no longer in our secret, undisclosed
Yeah. Well, I mean,
location.
it's still secret.
It's still secret,
we're
but
still
this is
But we're
recording from
disclosing it right now,
I mean,
visually.
It's got a name.
it's got a nail.
It is.
All right,
The-
where are we
Yeah,
here,
go ahead.
Quentin?
We are in the Yacht. This is the first podcast being recorded in the Yacht. For those listeners that may be hearing this for the first time, the Yacht stands for Ye Old Carriage House. So,
And that's old with an E.
Mm-hmm.
it was established in
What did we say?
22.
Yeah, 2022.
2022. So
Oh yeah,
we've been busy.
Yeah.
We've been busy.
I've been busy, mate.
Looks really
You've
good.
been busier than a cat.
It was essentially a
Shit.
pole barn when we started.
Wow.
I'm
Um,
very, very proud of how it's come along. We still
You
have
should
more to
be.
do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's still some more set dressing, and we got to figure out what to do with cameras and these microphones.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you two are our guinea pigs.
Nice.
The first podcast in the Yacht. So thank you so
yeah,
much.
so if you don't like it, save it for after the podcast, please. The complaint box is right over.
I do think before we release this, then we need to do like a walkthrough and introduce the yacht.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh yeah. That's
So
good.
we'll
But
it's
we'll
not-
do
but it's
that
not
between now
technically
and Sunday, because this will come out Sunday.
Not done.
Sunday?
yet.
We can do Sunday? Yeah, we can do Sunday, right?
well, yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
sure.
We're kind of rusty.
Oh, shit.
We can do it.
Yeah.
So, what do we want to talk about first, guys?
Well,
About-
I mean,
First
do,
off,
do
thanks
it.
for being here.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Both of
yeah.
you guys.
Yes.
We're
Um,
honored.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, for sure.
There's so much to talk about. I don't know where to start. We got
Right. Well, we can get the advertising out of the way.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's our advertising. So So go
what
ahead, take it.
events? Oh, all right. It's
Take
all
it.
up to me.
Take
well,
it away.
Well, you're actually playing that
on
that night, so you get in
Saturday,
there.
Saturday, May 6th, in Cherryvale. We have the Spring Fling, and it's going to be amazing. The headliner for this act is actually joining us right now. It is Nate Bunn's Caddywhompus Band. Yeah, super excited. It's going down at my place outdoors in Cherryvale, Kansas. 7 o'clock is when it starts. Yes? Is that correct? All
thereabouts.
Right. Yep, 7 o'clock, May 6th. Your headliner is the Caddywhompus Band. Also joining us is the Science of from Joplin and Traci and the Time Travelers from Independence, Kansas. It's going to be a heck of a time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So,
looking forward to it.
Tell us a little bit about the Caddywhompus Band. Like, what started the whole thing, man? Well, first, all right, before we go back to that, why don't you just tell us kind of what's the vibe, the goal, kind of the vision of Caddywhompus.
Well, just to have a good time and be kind of lighthearted and just make people dance, and also just have some cool guitar sounds and John on the bass and Jake on the drums, and we're all just trying to make cool sounds, I think.
Now you guys, this is genuine, 100%. You guys just absolutely ooze groove. That's one of my favorite things, watching you guys and listening to you guys. It's just like, yeah, I am good at dance. It's just like you said, like I don't actually know the song title, so forgive me on that, but the Working in the Garden song.
Yeah, the Gardeners, yeah.
Is my favorite. I absolutely love that song.
That's awesome. I wrote that song, Push Mowing the Lawn, and it's just, the tempo, the original tempo is just pretty much the beat of my feet hitting the ground when I was push mowing the yard, and started coming up with some lyrics in my head. But yeah, I mean, our music isn't real technical. Me, myself, I only know, 1.5 scales on a guitar, but just doing what we do well, I think. Just what we do is just play what we can play well,
Yeah.
And we're not, I don't know, we're just doing what kind of comes to us naturally, I think.
It's a whole vibe, and it's a good vibe.
It's such a good vibe.
Damn good vibe.
I've had the pleasure of playing along with you, playing guitar with you for the past couple months.
Yes.
It's been tons of fun. It's been tons of fun.
Yes. No, and it brings a lot. It brings so much to the band to, have all the extra parts and melodies in there, and
it's been a blast, and I've learned a lot by playing with you guys, because I've been a fan of the band for such a long time, and I've listened to the songs and seen you perform, and I always got the vibe that it's like it looks so seamless and so easy that I thought that you guys were just kind of going up there and jamming. I know that you got like a song and you got a structure, you got lyrics, but I was like, oh, they're just jamming and having a good time.
Form.
Yeah. Well, I really did, but it's like I come to find out, it's like, no, it's like you really have very thoughtfully and deliberately set out to just make sure that you're putting the audience first, that you're putting out that vibe and giving them something to have fun to and to dance to. And it's not, I don't want to say, I don't mean this to sound like it would be better or worse if it was just spontaneous, but it's like, it's very thoughtful that you craft that vibe for people.
Well,
and I think it's cool. I appreciate it more for that. You know what I mean?
It's not an easy thing to play something that you've played 1,000 times and it to the audience feels like it's a spontaneous thing. That's impressive.
Absolutely.
That I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
That and when I say that you make it look so seamless and so easy, like that's I mean that as a compliment, because it's not easy it's not, but you make it look that way because it's just so natural and you're so into it. So,
well, I appreciate that. It's and all of the songs we have been playing for a while, so they have evolved, and they have started out with that improvisational stuff, going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, man, I played something that I really liked there, so next time I play that again, and so and eventually, when we got ready to do the album, a lot of the solo parts and overdubs and things like that were more or less already written and where I wanted them to be.
Right. Right.
So
I know I've watched you guys enough times that there's a lot of visual communication going on between y'all, and
for sure
it's a lot of fun because you this is coming, Oh, he looked at Jake. It's coming.
Well, that's probably something that like other musicians probably key onto more than Joe Schmo audience member. But
only visual cues I ever give is whenever I look at one of you guys. I'm like, I knew you played that wrong. Like,
you get the same look.
I do.
We do, yeah.
Oh man, we made a change. You're talking about how songs evolve, and EOE. We made a change to a song where they know what I'm talking about already. It was like. It was right before we gear into this chorus, and the chorus is technically kind of a difficult thing for me on drums. I'm doing a single hand roll. It's just like I'm like, okay, gear up for that. It's like, and so, but we changed it to where we all drop out there, and it's just vocal
and then the backing track.
Yeah, and I could not for the life of me. I was so used to just like all the parts coming up, and it just took them all just like looking at me.
Daryl
parking up, they just look at me.
Basically, just like signed up. We're like, okay, we're cheerleaders for this. Like, go look at him, and then absolutely go ape shit whenever he hits it.
So they get to that part, and they're like.
Yeah, they're just giving me the eye, like you mofo, you better get
but
it.
But what's funny is like the first 3-4 times, Zach gets so into the zone, into his in-ear mix
state
that he's looking at his drums. He doesn't see anybody else, and everybody's looking at him, and he's like,
"Oh, the first time they're looking at me, I'm like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, this
they really
is funny.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get it.
Wow, I'm really doing it.
I did not get it at all.
And then he missed it, and then I was all like, point left, guys, point left.
Yeah. I got it now, though. I haven't done that mistake in a while.
Yeah. Well, I did add the 4-click in, so hopefully we can all hit the coming back in, because it's kind of weird.
It is a little weird.
It's like
after you do things one way
for so long,
for sure,
brain connection.
Right.
Oh man,
you got to rewire the synapses.
As soon as he announces any type of change on a song that we've already been playing, I'm like, you didn't. Like, tell me you did.
Man,
you're punking me right now. Like,
I'm horrible at that, because I mean I have one song in particular, Earthquake.
Yeah.
That I've never been happy with the lyrical content or the melody of the lyrics, and so
well, you can be okay with it because I love it. I love that song.
Cool, man, cool. Well, I just it's one of those things that never really felt right, like that the lyrics went with the music to me, and so I mean, that song's like 7 or 8 years old, and I'm still working on it.
Well,
and
go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
But like, then you have these other songs like The Gardeners that just flowed right out, and they didn't take that. I never second guessed it.
Yeah, some just write themselves.
Yeah.
And then some you just struggle. But I learned a long time ago is never force it. As soon as you force it, then you're unhappy with what you do.
Exactly. Right. I know it. And I try not to, but,
Yeah, sometimes you want to get it done, too. So it's like,
there's those times where you're just like, that's just not quite right. And you just got to try to fit some other things in there until something clicks, though,
And I've always loved the music of the Earthquake, and I've always been happy with that, the different parts and all of that, the feel there. But I guess that's why I feel like it has so much potential.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sell it short with the lyrical content and stuff, and actually be thoughtful about it. But anyway,
I think
it's a struggle.
You highlighted it pretty well about how, like, you start with this. This is how the song is, but then it evolves. I mean, we had one of those songs, kind of like what Zach was talking about, but I mean, the greeter from our first album.
Oh yeah.
Whenever we first started playing that song, I think it went through like 4
Well,
or
when
5 different.
And when that song was written, you were still in grade school.
Or was it?
Yeah, that's how old that song is.
Forgot about how old that song was.
Yeah.
And so
and the
as
last
my
half of that
talent
song is
developed.
the part that has pretty much stayed the same. The melodies always stayed the same.
Right.
The lyrics have always stayed the same. But that front half of that song is what changed so dramatically.
that bass part changed 5
Oh,
or 6 times. And I was really grateful that it changed because it challenged me. Every change pushed me as a bass player because I started when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
It was like 6th grade, summer of 6th grade into 7th grade. And, whenever we started working on the second album, I made it very clear to Dad. I said, I want you to write challenging bass parts for this. Not what I can play, what you want me to play. And I'm really grateful for that because I think overall I've grown.
Oh, you've gotten a lot better.
I've grown from it.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
all
something
about evolving that sound.
There's something about music, and I mean, anyone that's ever picked up an instrument or tried to sing, I'm sure knows. It's like there's always something more. There's always another thing to learn. There's always.
It's a never-ending process for sure.
And that's why it's like that's what I love is I see I'm going to be, 67 years old with a little guitar on my porch, like going, oh, how do I do that thing? It's like it never ends.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
life goals.
It is. Music is an amazing thing, and I mean, all the different feelings, and you can hear a song and not be in the mood, and then other times you're in the mood to hear that song, and it's the best thing that you could possibly listen to.
Or
the set and setting,
or finding that
goes a long
song
way.
that you were not looking for. That was just like, oh, damn, that's like everything I was looking for. Right.
Yeah.
And it just,
Or even sometimes rediscovering a band. Like
Right.
for me, the first time I heard Guns N' Roses, of course I was there when they came out. I'm old like that. I didn't like them. Didn't really care for them. And I don't know, about a year later, something changed and Appetite for Destruction. That's still to me the best Guns N' Roses has ever done. But I love that. I think that's a top 10, top 20 album as far as hard rock goes.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Super talented.
But yeah, just it was the same for me with Rage Against the Machine. When they first came out, I was like, eh. And then, somewhere along the way it switched, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah.
I think there's
I don't
also
know.
something to be said with, like, whenever we were writing the second album, I don't
He's
have
talking like it's already out and finished.
He's been talking like that for 3 years. So God love him.
One of these days when it drops, you just wait. But with like the bass parts and stuff, I refrained from. I wanted Dad to do most of the writing, just because I was still learning. I am still learning. I am not what I would call a
Jaco Pasterius.
Yeah, I'm certainly no John Chancellor. You know what I mean? Justin, whatever. Clearly. But
Maybe you are, John. I've never met him. He might suck too. No, just kidding.
But in that same regard, I gave it to someone that knew more than me. I said, "Go, tell me what to play. Challenge me as a player, and then let's meet in the middle somewhere. If I can't play it and I'm struggling, then okay, then we'll meet somewhere in the middle. We haven't hit that
Dumb it
point
down
yet.
for Quentin. Dumb it down.
We haven't hit that point yet.
No.
Well, and see, that's kind of where it started with the greeter. We made it simple.
And I do remember
And
I whined about it.
Yeah,
I was like, it's way
it's too simple.
It's too simple.
And okay,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, you
we keep
want
going.
simple. Yeah.
And then this time,
now that's my favorite
I
song
took
that
the
we play. I
took the
think
took the
one of
kid
my
gloves
favorites.
off, and it's up to him to figure it out. So
Right. And I think it's made me a better bass player overall. So.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for that.
and I'm by no means a great bass player, but what I do with his parts is like his parts in a lot of the songs, especially through the chorus, the bass is actually carrying the melody along with the vocal underneath the guitars and the tracks, which I thought was kind of unique. And then just there's a lot of weird time stuff that he has to do.
Apparently
that's
very
against
genetic.
what we were doing. So
I think we all feel syncopation,
yeah,
just pretty naturally, and oddly enough, as Daryl is on another level when it comes to like melody, but he struggles with the syncopation
right.
aspect. So that's just like being in a band. You know, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses and whatever, and it all comes together.
I gotta know. Do you count in your songs, or do you just feel it?
There's a couple breaks I think where we do count. And yeah, I mean, not. I don't know. It's all feels pretty natural though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's when that should happen.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and I think the best way to get to that, particularly with what he's talking about personally, is that until you're 100% comfortable with it, there is some counting involved.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I mean, you know,
Dad would have kicked me out of the band a long time ago if I didn't have his sense of weird ass rhythm. So,
it's not something that comes naturally for a lot of people. You know, just giving guitar lessons, I've seen that some people have it just naturally and other people will never have it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's like you can try and try and try. And I mean, I don't know if it's something you can learn or not.
everything's 4/4 if you don't count.
Right? Yeah.
I really believe. I mean, it depends on
That's
how much you
number.
work and how much you apply yourself. But I really do think that even people that are tone deaf, I think if they really work hard enough at it, I've taken ear training.
You're probably
classes.
right. Yeah.
That's per
You know?
Meshuggah, by the way, Zach. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Oh, I know. What he's getting at is everything's 4/4 if you don't think about it too hard. But
Meshuggah came out and said, "Man, they're calling it polyrhythms, and it's all 4/4. I don't know what they're saying." And that was the most validation I ever needed in my life. I didn't know I needed it until I heard it.
But we were talking about like the role that the bass plays, and we've had John and Jake, the drummer and the bass player for Caddywompus, on the podcast. It was a while back now, but
2 years probably.
yeah.
Well, you had to be.
Yeah,
'cause
at
we
least.
didn't do anything last
At
year.
least, yeah.
I'm just like when you guys decided that I could play with you, I was kind of flabbergasted because, I mean, Jake and John are such a strong rhythm section. I mean, it sounds full and complete without that second guitar player for the most part. So, I mean, they do such a good job of having their independent parts and sticking together, and then you can wail over the top of it, or you can hold down the groove, and they're just so tight together.
Oh yeah, they're
you know.
really fun to play with.
Yeah.
Don't really have to worry about them at all. You know, just
They really feel the funky rhythm.
Yeah.
You know?
And John with his classical background, you know, he already has his finger picking style down.
yeah.
You know, and he's developed a lot of technique on the bass too since he started playing bass for us. But
And he has a lot of theoretical knowledge of chords and
Oh, yeah.
scales and
see, and that's where you guys can communicate because I don't know all the theory, you know. So it's like when you guys are trying to get a message across to each other,
Right.
you know, you guys can talk, you know, and I'm just like, yeah.
That is me.
I
all
geek
the
out
time.
about it. Yeah.
Zach is like, it's a 7/4, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means. Brr, 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 brr.
But it's cool because he'll be, I don't know, arpeggiating a chord or something, you know, playing a broken chord while you're strumming or playing a lead. I don't know. It's just the way that he breaks it up and brings, like the rhythm part is that he's doing is like separate from your part, but it all fits together.
Oh yeah.
And I like that. I think that's something that EOE tries to do too. It's like if we're all playing the same thing, then that means that we really want to emphasize that thing, you know?
Speaking of genetics, I think we do need to highlight the fact that the Lion brothers have just absolutely rob the gene pool of all the musical talent.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I mean that was
True.
Save some talent for yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That is a huge benefit of having both of these guys in the band. I mean, they've played together
they're automatically
for so
locked
long.
in.
Yeah.
You put them in the room and they're
Exactly.
Same wavelength, just oozing funk, and then they also have all that technical ability and knowledge. It's just like, relax, guys, relax.
Shoot. I think you're way overhyping it.
No,
But
I think,
thanks.
yeah. I wish we could get together 2 or 3 times a week, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I would love it. I would love if that was just be all of our jobs.
I know it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Erin would come in with some fresh greens to
Exactly.
keep us nourished.
Once I get the farm.
Yeah,
Once
we
we're
haven't,
billionaires for my veggie farm. I mean,
we haven't talked about
Yes.
that yet.
Well, and see, that's a sweet
take care of
transition
everybody.
Yeah.
into Bun's backyard farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
smooth.
Absolutely.
Give us the lowdown on that, Erin. Like, how did that get started?
I don't know.
Surplus?
know.
Well, I
let's
mean,
see.
basically, during COVID, you started working from home.
Yeah. So I had more time.
And then you were like, I ain't ever going back.
Basically, like a lot of people. I was
I'm going to
like,
be a farmer.
I am never going to sit in front of 2 computer screens again for the rest of my life. This is not good for my eyeballs. And let's see. No, we always had gardens. Like, I grew up in a gardening family. We always had gardens. Nate and I had, you know, a variety of different gardens over the years. And then during COVID, it was like we started growing more and realized, I was like, oh my God, I can actually like grow a lot of food if I, you know, like just kind of like surprising amounts of food. And so that first year we set up a little farm stand across the street from our house in the church parking lot. And it was just to kind of like feel it out, see how much we could grow. And also like it was kind of weird to like sell produce to people because I grew up in a gardening family. You just like give everything away. So I also had to like get comfortable with like taking money for, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird, but that was part of the process. And then it just like kept growing, and we last year, this is only our 3rd season of selling. So this is like, I mean, yeah, because it all started during COVID.
Right.
But yeah, so to back it up though to the beginning though, during COVID, like we had this carport frame. Remember that we oh my God, got for free from a neighbor that was like, you know, and
A
we
10 by 20 foot carport frame, just the metal frame.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
There you go.
that we were gonna
So
make into
I kept on looking at it because it was out by our house, and I drive by it every day. And I knew the woman that lived there, so I just contacted her, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing with that thing?" You know, because it didn't have a cover or anything on it.
Right.
She was like, "If you want it, come get it." So that ended up being our first greenhouse. Yeah.
Well, it's like we had it for like years. Like we were gonna do something, we just never had time, you know.
Yeah.
And so then when COVID happened and like we were at home, we were like, oh, we have time finally, you know? So we like built it and made it into our first little greenhouse. And so then that's kind of what like kicked it off, I think, you know, is like, okay, now we can start all our own seedlings because we have this little greenhouse area, which we put a wood burning stove in it. So it would be like totally self-sufficient, you know what I mean? You don't need a power or anything out there. And so yeah, I think that's what kind of kicked it off, because then we're just able to start like hundreds of plants, you know. And yeah, then it just kind of grew from there. It was like I'm not really sure exactly like when in my mind it switched from like I'm a gardener to like I'm a farmer, I'm gonna sell all this stuff. But I know like seeing empty grocery store shelves during COVID was like
You realize,
holy
yeah,
shit.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I was just kind of like, this is our
Yeah.
fragile
vulnerable,
little
you
food
know,
system.
to the whole chain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we just have a really fragile little food system. So let's do whatever we can to help get a little more food coming from our area, you know, and contribute to the local food system. And so, yeah, we've just kind of kept growing. And I am like, each year we're going to add another high tunnel and another high tunnel. And last year, it was just like, let's just grow with what we have.
Let's slow down.
It's a lot of work.
Slow down.
Yeah.
You're only one person. You can't like do like 500 high tunnels or whatever.
Well,
And-
yeah. So we had the greenhouse, and then but you can't grow in the greenhouse at all during the summer. I mean, once the sun comes out, even when it's 30 or 40 degrees out. Once the sun starts hitting the plastic, it's 100 plus in no
it shoots
time.
up. So you have to have good ventilation. And
Right.
ours just has like a door. Until last season, he added a window on the other side, but even that isn't quite enough. You can grow in the high tunnel all year because it has sidewalls. But
I don't.
So,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I don't know the technical name, but I recently saw like an article of what was basically looked like just barely below ground greenhouse
Ooh,
to
yeah.
kind of help with like the temperature control.
yes,
Is that
I would love to have something like that. Yes, that would be awesome, especially with just the extreme highs and lows that we have, and just like the fluctuating back and forth between like now it's 80, now it's 30, I think like if it was kind of in the ground more, it would help. And so we're doing a lot of experimenting with that. Like, like right now we have our greens bed, which we had, we grew through all the winter. And so we're just going to see how long we can keep them going. So we put like an 80% shade cloth over it just to see, and so anyway, I think like providing shade even when it's a little cooler out with the fluctuations, I think having the shade helps them just experience a little bit more consistency, the plants, because they don't like going back and forth. So I think like that's what I'm like most excited about is like adapting, like helping like adapt our food growing techniques, because we learn so much from like our parents and our grandparents, but like the conditions outside aren't the same as they were when they were kids. They
Right.
had rain, they had winter, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's different now. So we just have to adapt,
Need a revised farmer's almanac.
Yeah,
Which I
exactly.
just-
Exactly.
I just saw it today, and my wife shared this, and that's how my wife, Crystal, is a big fan of the farm
yes,
and wants to
love her.
support that. We really appreciate all your hard work because we enjoyed it on a daily basis. But that said, she shared something that said that in the state of Kansas, Independence is the fourth driest.
Nate was just saying that.
Yeah, and it's the driest it's been since 1953.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe it. It's
So
just
challenge
unbelievable.
for your line of
Yes.
of
Yes.
work.
And so
I
that's why, like, so we really got into the no-till thing, which I'd always heard about no-till, but I was like, oh, that seems like so much work. It was just like, what do they even do?
Let's go back a little bit though. Let's go back a little bit.
I know. It's
Because
like,
we-
there's just
Yeah, now I'm like, what the heck is no-till? What is this?
Hold on, we're gonna keep you on the edge of your seat
This is
with that.
sorcery.
So yeah, we had the greenhouse to start everything,
yes.
and then we had basically like a 30 by 30 garden plot.
Mhm.
We have a
Not quite
peach
that big.
tree.
Mhm.
We had like 3 blueberry bushes,
They're dead.
and they didn't survive the
drought.
drought last year. And then an asparagus patch. So that's kind of what we had. And then the first thing though that she added was a 100 by 25 foot
Somewhere on there.
garden plot.
Hmm.
So
Just in ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of cool because we had never like plowed before. We had
Just, like,
tilled and
fresh
stuff, but we had never
land.
plowed. And her
Yeah.
dad brought over like a 3-point plow and turned the ground and
It was awesome.
all of that. Yeah, and then tilled it all, and so everything was set up. And yeah, so that first year she sold, we didn't have the high tunnel yet. We just had the 2 outside garden
Mhm.
plots.
Yeah. And we had applied for the high tunnel funding through the NRCS, the local, whatever that stands for,
They'll cover like
Natural Resource
90%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they cover a percentage of the high tunnel costs. And a high tunnel, for anyone who doesn't know, is like a giant unheated greenhouse, basically.
Really?
So it's just like a huge greenhouse that is not heated in any way. And so we applied for that. We found out we were likely not going to get it. So we talked to our friends who own Winkleman's, Melissa and Dwayne Small. And we had heard that they had just like an old.
We had
high
an
tunnel
inside
frame.
connection.
Yeah, we had an inside
Yeah.
connection.
Man on the inside.
We heard they had a high
We
tunnel
got
frame.
we
like
got to
they
be
had a-
careful here what all we say though. No,
Yeah,
but
exactly. It was pretty.
Will
pretty
not
shady.
confirm nor deny what
Yeah.
favors were given.
Exactly,
I must
yeah.
say no.
so yeah, they had.
So
Go
they
ahead.
had like an old high tunnel frame behind one of their high tunnels, and they
Buried
weren't
in the
using it.
weeds. Buried in the weeds. I mean,
they're-
just
Yeah, and their employees called it a pile of snake habitat. That's what it was. And it was like we went. So we worked out a deal with them to get it from them, and we went to go get it, and there were snakes all over. Like, it was terrifying. But anyway, we dug it out, we brought it home, and we transitioned that pile of snake habitat into our awesome.
We
high
put it
tunnel.
all together.
awesome.
Yeah, it ended
Yeah.
up being 26 by 48.
Yeah. So like the one we applied for was like 96 by, so it would have been like twice as big. So it's like, I think it worked out just the way it needed to. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Right.
it was like, this is like a good starter high tunnel.
was meant for
just
this high
still
tunnel.
exactly this pile of snake habitat. So yeah.
A big learning process with
Oh my
all of
gosh,
that.
yeah.
You know, because we didn't have really anything other than kind of like what it was supposed to look like. And
Yeah. And we didn't
So
have
we
all
just-
the pieces
yeah,
either. So
we had to piece it all
like,
together
Yeah.
and-
So it was a great learn. This is definitely the biggest structure that we have ever built together.
yeah, but it worked out.
That's,
Mhm.
that's
super impressive. I'm like,
it really is.
I know that Nate. I know you're a really handy guy. I know you work on your mowers and
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's just really impressive. As someone that is not mechanically inclined at all, I'm like always in awe.
Well,
you
we
know?
have YouTube now,
I-
so
That's a good
that-
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
that does
is-
help.
it's
We've
it's
learned
just
a
like
lot,
before
yes.
I do anything I've never done before, that's where I look. You know.
I mean, and I watch YouTube all the time for farming stuff, too. I mean, it's like we all learn from YouTube now. It's like literally every year before I start seeds, I like refresh on seed starting videos,
That's awesome.
because it's like,
yeah.
why not? It's right there.
Well, and it's like you were talking about how, in the past, well, even now, we learn from our relatives. We learn, but it's what do they know? And then you get into something that isn't in their wheelhouse. We have YouTube, whereas before you might be able to find it at the library.
If
I'm
it had
sure
been
about in the
researched and-
80s we started getting a whole bunch of do
I'm
it
gonna
yourself
look up
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
microfish.
but
Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, there are a lot of bad things about the internet, but there are a lot of good things.
Oh,
And
for sure,
YouTube-
yeah.
Single-handedly the best,
Best and
the
worst.
worst.
It is.
Exactly.
It is.
Yeah.
Creation for
Exactly.
mankind.
Yes. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the summary, I guess, of how it all started. And then we added, just some other random beds, like a big old rock bed that's like a perennial bed that's like half herbs and half flowers. And then we added a big greens bed, which I want to duplicate that this year because I could not believe our ability to just grow food all winter long with one single sheet of plastic. Like that's it. Like literally anybody can grow
wow.
greens all winter long if you have just a little area.
So we had that cold snap that just lasted a couple of days. It was right around Christmas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was like negative temperatures,
yeah.
and that kind of shocked everything just a little bit. It just slowed it down a little bit,
Yeah, it
but
killed a
then
couple
it took
plants,
like a
but-
week or two to come out of that.
Yeah.
But
That's amazing.
after
we were
that, I
gonna
mean,
get- We were gonna add extra protection, and then I was like, let's just experiment and just see what these can actually handle because they're cold hardy anyway. So like they're supposed to be able to handle down to like 20, and most of them are supposed to be able to handle negative temps. So we tried it, and yeah,
we're spinach, kale, and
collard
greens. Yeah.
those are the three
Yeah.
greens we have in there. And the spinach, I'm just sold on the spinach. Like it can handle. It's just so tough. Like it can handle everything.
It's so good too.
And it's
It
so
is.
good,
Yeah,
and it's so
it's so
easy.
good.
You can literally throw it in everything. You can just throw a handful of it in anything.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
That's
it
like-
goes.
That's one of those foods that it's good for me, but I don't necessarily like the taste of it.
Okay.
But you know what? Crystal has been like you said, throwing it in everything, and she does it in a way. It's just like it's great.
I
It's
think-
great.
I
I'm
think-
getting my
I
spinach.
think what
you know,
happened
It's like
Yes.
yeah, that's awesome.
Is the United States school system ruined spinach for everybody?
They did.
Probably, yeah,
They
I
did.
think
Yeah.
that's right.
I
Canned
still-
spinach is
Oh,
is
it's the
Canned
worst.
I was
spinach.
It's the
horrible.
worst.
I still have not tried canned spinach, but the funniest way that I actually tried spinach and am a devout spinach disciple, if you will, was a friend of mine that actually worked at Subway at the time, and he has since passed, so God rest him for it. But he worked at Subway, and he's like, dude, just iceberg lettuce, nothing but water. Nah, throw some spinach on that.
spinach.
And then
Yep.
die hard spinach believer ever since.
Yes. Yes.
You're like, wait, there's
I
no
mean-
nutritional value in this, and actually, it's I mean, I love an iceberg. I mean, I do love
Oh,
the
yeah.
crunch of
No, the
iceberg
crunch.
from
Yeah,
time to
it's the
time.
crunch.
But
Yeah.
when
It's
it comes
only
to your
the crunch.
staples, yeah,
and so then at
exactly.
that point, I was just like, do both. Nutritional
Right,
value
yeah.
and the crunch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I think a salad having both is great. But
It's
if I go get a sub, then I'm leaving off the lettuce and just give me all the spinach.
Oh, blasphemy.
Start doing the bag.
I have failed you as a son, as a sandwich artist.
I'd like to throw spinach in marinara for spaghetti or lasagna or anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can throw it in everything.
And
Yeah.
boom, it just
Yes.
cooks right down, and
Yeah.
it's
I know.
yeah,
Yep.
Every morning he cooks big. It's like a handful of spinach.
couple
Those
eggs,
eggs.
yeah,
It's like
saute
it's
it
just
up,
like a huge amount of
Well,
spinach, and it cooks
bam.
right down.
hit it
Yep.
with some butter.
And honestly, I really
So
don't.
good.
I really
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think it adds a lot to the nutritional value. I don't think it adds that much to the flavor, honestly.
No,
That's
it
why
doesn't.
that's why I keep
Yes.
saying school lunches ruin
Right.
spinach.
It's like, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's like if I was just going to, if someone was just going to cook some spinach and say, here, eat some spinach, I'd be like, nah. I don't
See,
think
hold
so.
on, I gotta tell you about our dinner last night.
He makes
So
some
yeah,
good
we made
spinach
we
by
made
itself, though.
we made a roast. I think it was like a Pike's Peak roast or something
My parents
in
have cows,
the
Nice.
crock pot, and then so yeah, it's just sitting there in that
Au jus.
yeah, basically.
basically, yeah.
And
I just learned what that was the other day.
so
I had
yeah,
no idea.
I sauteed up some spinach and then just about when it's halfway done, just with some butter and stuff, and then hit it with some of that broth
From the beef
and kind of
roast.
let that cook
Yeah,
down a little
yeah.
bit. Oh my god, it was
It was
yeah,
really good.
it
Yeah.
was
It was
really
really
good.
good.
Yeah,
It
and
totally
then,
changed the flavor. You might.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I just think I need to come over and eat with you guys sometime.
And it wasn't
Yeah,
like
you
I cooked.
should. That's
I let that all like reduce to where it wasn't liquidy or anything, but
Yeah.
cook all the liquid off, and then it was
Yeah.
it was the bomb.
No, that
Probably
sounds
could have
awesome.
just added it in with the roast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And done
a
it
lot
in the
of people
crock pot.
do like
Yeah.
cabbage and
Yeah. Oh, I
mhm.
love cabbage.
Oh,
I love
yeah,
cabbage.
me too.
And
And
Brussels
that's what I like
sprouts.
about collard
Just
greens.
baby cabbage. you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I like collard greens because they're a lot like, they're in the cabbage family, so it's like they're a little tougher. They can handle a little bit more cooking. And
Yep.
people they just cook them all day. That's like a traditional
Mhm.
way to cook them. But, I found you can just slice them really thin and use them any way you would use spinach, really.
Yeah.
And they are nutritional powerhouses, too. They are
Yeah.
just full of nutrients. But anyway. I could talk
Yeah,
about
the only
cooking
thing,
greens all day long.
I love how passionate you are about it. You can
Right.
just say you're sitting here with just a huge smile on your
I
face the
know.
whole time. I love it.
I love it. I love
No,
food.
That's
every night.
awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
I
the other
love
night
the
I-
passion that's coming through on this, and it's like because it's so beneficial to our community as well. My family is very, very devoted to buying everything as locally as possible. That's why we love you guys so much. And yeah, just that passion and the dedication, hand in hand, it makes a difference. It makes a difference in my life. So thank you.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think the thing
Yes,
that
thank
I
you.
really love hearing is that it was post-COVID. You know what I mean? It's COVID that started it, and then you've just persisted and turned it into this beautiful business for both of you guys. And that's probably one of my favorite things because COVID is normally surrounded by, this sucked, I had to deal with this, and hearing the good that
Negative,
came
yeah.
out. Yeah.
Right.
Hearing
yeah.
those positives in terms of individuals that sat down and said, you know what, I'm going to change the outcome of this unfortunate circumstance, and I'm going to make a difference. And that's
It's like
what you guys did.
A little bit of chaos got
you.
thrown
Yeah.
into the system and shook things up. And
I
Yeah.
can tell
And
you
it,
right now.
it was a wake up call.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
hmm The world will never be the same after that.
Yeah.
And I remember I finished my senior year of college, finishing my bachelor's degree. And I was sitting there going, well, I didn't expect my senior year to go like this. But, sitting here and going through this whole ordeal, I mean, it's I had a lot of positive that came out of COVID. I know a lot of other people really didn't experience that, but it's good to hear.
Yeah.
right.
Those
Other
of us who didn't.
And I was
die,
lucky
I
enough
mean,
to.
you know, or like,
truthfully.
yeah.
I was lucky enough to be an essential employee. I don't know if lucky is right because
Yeah,
I was
I
kind
don't
of
think
put
those are-
more
I
at
don't
risk.
know. I really would have liked that free time that
Well,
you're
I
talking
know.
about over there.
But I'm just saying, like, I
There
got
was
to
actually no free
I
time.
got to continue my career, and without a hiccup in it. A lot of people.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's how Nate was. It was like he worked by himself. He didn't have to.
And I'm lucky enough to be outside all day too.
Yeah.
Except for an
Yeah.
hour in the morning.
It was like Dad said. It was a wake up call. It put a lot of people into perspective, and I know that although the second album isn't out yet, and that we're still working on it.
Well, most of it got written during that break.
It got
During
written
that
during that
time,
time
yeah.
because
a lot of good stuff.
there
happened.
was an overwhelming sense of like, tomorrow's not guaranteed, guys. Like
Let's do these things that
anything
we-
could change.
Yeah.
I wish I still had the form, but I remember the piece of paper that I got from work at the time that said that you are an essential worker, and that if there are going to be police check stops, that you hand this to them. And
I got one of those too.
What
Wait,
world are
what?
we
Oh
in
my
right
God.
now?
Yeah, it was.
I had
wild.
one for 3 states.
Show me your papers.
because I work in 3 states.
Oh my God.
I wish I laminated that and kept that because
You
that's
should have. That's a piece
Yeah.
of history.
that is a
Yeah.
huge piece of
Mhm.
history. But I remember shoot, I lost it.
Oh, you don't remember it that well, then, do you?
No, I don't. It's gone. It's gone.
Left quite the impression.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Didn't it?
It's
Well, and it was like I wanted to be self-employed before COVID. Like
Right.
that was like,
Yeah.
because so like
What
I
did
worked
you?
in social
what-
services. Yes.
Yeah. What
okay.
did you do before?
So yeah, I worked in okay, so I graduated from K-State with a bachelor's in social science. And then I stayed in Manhattan for several years and worked at a community mental health center with adults with severe and persistent mental illnesses. I was the group person.
Yeah.
I like did
bless you
groups
for
with adults.
Yeah.
It was my favorite job of all time. It was awesome. And then after that, I worked for the Kansas Children's Service League in first in adoption and foster care, and then in prevention, like child abuse prevention, essentially a home visitation program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I came from like 15 years in social services. Like that's what I loved KCSL. That was like a great agency to work for, but I just knew I wanted to be self-employed. Like I just always like felt the pull towards self-employment.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 2018, I think. I took the entrepreneurial, I hate that word, mindset class at ICC with Jim Carell and Joanne Smith. And I like at that time I did not know at all what I wanted to do, but I just like knew that was like a step I could take in that direction,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like I've been wanting to be self-employed for a long time, and it was COVID that was finally just like, because we'd been saving up money and we'd been trying to just figure out the insurance side of things,
Right,
which is
right.
So hard to do. And so once we like all that stuff just like lined up,
Right.
So
Because
it was something I
Nate, you're
wanted to do.
self-employed as well.
Yes.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to have both partners self-employed is nearly impossible as a
That's
United
yeah,
States of
yeah,
America
that's
citizen.
right.
You
Pressure.
know, yeah. When it comes to benefits and all these things, so yeah, that
Oh,
was
that's
so
awesome.
it was like I
So
always
basically,
wanted
you're
to
just
be-
a saint. Like
No,
Just like-
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, all the
I was
goods
like, he
that's
married an
produced
angel.
is created by a saint.
Yeah.
It's blessed by a saint. Buy it now. Buy all of it.
I mean, there is good energy that goes into your food by the people.
Absolutely.
Your
Yeah,
energy is
absolutely.
changed by.
Absolutely.
Have you guys ever seen it tracks the vocal frequencies that plants project, and it's like a plant talk box basically.
No. I
Oh,
haven't
you've
seen
gotta
that. I
look-
mean, I've heard of.
I've got to know what your plants are saying. I won't buy food until I.
You know, that explains a lot because, if you go through the Taco Bell drive-thru and the guy's got a really negative attitude, the next day is usually pretty rough.
I don't
Good
know.
point. There you go.
I don't know. I've followed a very simple procedure in most of the food in my life. The sketchier it looks, the better it is.
Oh, that's
probably bad.
you're living dangerously, brother.
Probably bad for me. but
What's really funny is now that I avoid meat quite a bit, I don't do it near as much as your mom. But Taco Bell is one of those places where you can get
Like a potato.
vegetarian,
something. Yeah.
bean burrito, whatever, different stuff like that. So I don't ever get any of the stuff, and I don't ever have any digestive problems. It's their meat. Taco Bell
Gets
is their
you.
meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
there-
where the
Quote,
problem comes
yes.
from. Yeah.
But anyway, the overall like I've lost it again. I've lost it again.
There is a vibe though, being out in the garden. I mean, you know, it is. It's for the most part a pretty peaceful place. I mean, you're looking around at nature, all the different insects working. You know,
Yeah.
I heard somebody. I
remember-
heard somebody say it was a spiritual thing.
right? Yes.
I remember what I
and
was
it's
gonna ask.
one of those things where you can, I mean, no pun intended, but you can see the fruits of your labor. You know,
Yeah.
you can really,
It's very visual.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I mean, and I know you take care of lawns and stuff.
Same
Like,
concept. Yeah.
That's something I feel that way about doing laundry. Like, no one likes to do laundry, but I love doing laundry because
Hey,
like,
do I have a deal for you?
I love. I don't necessarily like mowing my lawn, but I like when it's done. I'd be like, I did that. I made it look.
Exactly.
made it look
yes,
nice,
I know
you know?
exactly
You know,
what
I-
you're saying, yes.
It
Or
is.
like
It's
you weed up
satisfying.
the area, like in the garden when you like weed a really weedy area, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so satisfying.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love gardening. I don't do it near as much as I should, and I started a few things this year, but they're probably not going to do anything. We did it in the ground one year, and that was probably the most fun. The weeding wasn't, but cucumbers, man, cucumbers are just
Going crazy.
well, and you know you go out and you pick them 5 minutes later, and then there's one out there that's like this freaking. Where did that come from?
Exactly.
I know
Where
it.
did that come from? You know?
You always, yeah.
But our it was really kind
true.
of disappointing because our soil back there, it had to have been the soil, but all our cucumbers came out sour
Oh,
or
yeah.
bitter, you know.
Bitter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But one saving grace is I had a cinnamon pickle recipe, and there was so much cinnamon and so much sugar and vinegar in there that
You
they
can
were great
taste
for
it.
that.
Nice.
Yeah. When we were able to use them for that, but my God.
So I
But
remember.
yeah, cucumbers are crazy.
I remember what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Whenever it came time for that first, like, okay, we're gonna sell all of this. How was that feeling of reward and satisfaction whenever you finally like, I did it, I did the damn thing,
It was tearful. I mean, yeah, it's powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just crazy. Like,
Yeah, she had her stand set up across the road, and yeah, just all that produce, peppers and tomatoes, and just I mean, it was pretty cool. It was legit for sure.
It
I mean, it
felt-
was,
Yeah, I mean, and like no one came, like no one bought anything.
few people stopped
Yeah,
there.
and so I'd like work my ass off. I'd,
Well,
like,
it was funny
make all this
because-
stuff, like no one
yeah.
would come, and I'd still do it every Tuesday.
That's
Some
how I feel
people-
about
some
being
people
in a
would come.
band.
Oh my God.
Exactly. So there's so many parallels.
There
But
were
yeah,
there
it
were
was-
8 or 10 regulars
There were-
there that
no,
would
there
come
were
every
regulars,
week. You
yeah.
know,
But
once
then
they
it-
knew it was there.
and then it
Yes.
continued to grow.
And then it continued to
Yeah.
grow. Exactly.
So
yeah.
so what is the current protocol then?
Okay, so currently, so last year, I evolved from like I had just collected a bunch of emails, email addresses of people who were interested in the produce, and I would just like send a weekly email out, and I'd be like, "This is what I have, this is what it costs," and they would email me back. And then I was like, "Well, I already have this health coaching website. Let me like put my store, just like make an online store on here, so people can just order, and I don't have to just like man the email all day
Right.
long."
There you go.
And so I started my online store last year, and that went great. So this year I'm doing a small CSA for the first time, which is CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And so it's basically just like a weekly farm subscription box is like, so people will like, I have 10 spots, which are filled. And like those 10 people, they'll get like $25 per week of whatever I have available, like a variety box basically of what I
Yeah.
have available. And so I'm really excited to try that because like I want to start small and with that because a lot of small farms do CSAs. So I'm going to do the CSA, and then whatever I don't move through the CSA that week will go to my online store. So that's kind of what my system will be this year. So the online store is at www. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Do it.
It's erinbunhealth.com/shop is like what the online store will be. Which right now all we have in there is greens, obviously, lots of greens, and honey. We have a little bit of. My dad has hives in our pasture and on their land, so we have some of their honey in our store.
Nice.
That's
Most
awesome.
amazing
And,
honey.
and that's bun with
I
2
love-
ends, right?
Two
I love-
ends, yes.
It's very important.
BUNN, yes.
Very important.
Yes.
Brooke is deathly allergic to bees, but I would love to have bees. And so anytime I hear somebody that's got local honey, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beekeepers
with my
are crazy,
allergies.
but it's so good for
Oh, yeah.
you. Yeah,
I'll have a bee farm if you come over.
Bee farm.
A bee farm.
Bee farm.
Bee
Good for
farm.
the garden too.
It is good for the
Yeah.
garden.
Good pollinators.
Yeah, it is.
Man, if you be a beekeeper for me, we'll do it.
You gotta
Yeah.
get a fence.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Come on.
I've got honey from another local person too. I'm not going to plug them while we're plugging you guys.
No,
but,
that's what I like those.
yeah.
All the local stuff.
I'm just like it's there if you want to look for it. Like there are options for sure.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
that
Well, and
makes
and
the
Crystal,
fourth
that's what's
option
so
I know
cool
of
is she
in the
knows.
area. So.
Mm-hmm.
She takes the time to do that and like find all the local people because it's
Yes.
not easy. You're like having to go to all these places, to get
Yeah,
all this stuff.
we'll
but-
drive to McCune sometimes to get meat.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not immediately local, but it's not.
It's
too
better than
far
it
out
coming
of the
from
way.
Mexico.
Yeah,
It's closer than Mexico.
exactly. And just knowing what's in your products, it's
so
good.
part of my career is, I work in a bunch of different industries. We manufacture, and I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Dildos.
But we have our hands in a ton of different markets. right?
Coatings scientist.
And
This is slippery. Oh.
fuck y'all.
It's a running joke. We like to interrupt
Why does it
Clinton when he's
tingle?
telling a story.
Yeah, it's so fucking funny. But anyway, I've been introduced to a whole bunch of different industrial manufacturing plants of a whole bunch of different things. And I've been on one in particular, and I'm not going to say the name for legal reasons, but there was a chicken processing plant that I went on the side of. For one, you can smell it 2 miles away.
Mhm.
And two, just it's wild the kinds of
Factory farming is.
I learned it opened
Yeah.
my eyes up a
Ugh.
whole bunch in terms
Mhm.
of just the level of like mass capacity consumption and production of like chicken.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
insane to me.
Mhm.
They stack them all up.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
They're stacking them deep and selling them cheap.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
That is
Well,
so-
and again, I don't eat meat like I used to, but I'm not ever gonna feel sorry for people eating chicken. Or feel bad about that.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of things.
Right.
I actually
But when
just
you
had a conversation
can
about,
get to a point where it's something like that, and then all of a sudden you're feeling bad for chickens, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right.
That's real bad.
Yeah.
That's real
Yeah.
bad.
Pretty inhumane. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And if you dig into it, I don't know if you're talking about Tyson, but I'm going to throw the name Tyson chicken out there that because they were wanting to open up something like that around here.
Mhm.
And
Right.
we were really concerned about the environmental effects of that.
For
and then
sure.
also we started looking into it. It's like the people that actually raise the chickens, dude, they go broke because they're required to spend so much money on this stuff and they're not getting that money back. So they're just in crazy debt. And they're just bogged down with this horrible, nasty job.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it
it's
just
just
shows
like
you
borderline tenant farmers.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's really bad.
well, yeah,
all the
I
way
mean,
around.
Just massive farming is just not necessarily sustainable. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like you need small farms. We just need like a lot of small farms, and that's why I like our backyard farm approach because like a lot of people could be growing things in their
Yeah.
spaces. You don't have to have just like a huge space. I mean, we have land, but we don't use it all. I mean, we only use like a little bit of it for growing food, and I like that backyard farm approach. I like, even though we have land, growing in more of like an urban farming way, just because it's like more diversity. Like it doesn't have to be just like this one crop across the whole entire
Right.
thing,
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's not.
Yeah, monocropping is a huge problem too
Exactly.
in and of
yeah.
itself.
It's
Well,
like
and the
we could
waste
have a
from
lot
it,
of people doing
you
all
know.
these little exactly.
They grow so much of it just for people to have the convenience of being able to go and get it whenever they want. That
Little Jimmy, 6 years old, gotta have his chicken nuggets and Sprite.
But
though,
the supply tends to far out exceed the demand, and
Yeah.
then all that gets thrown away.
It's
Yeah,
wild.
and the government subsidizes it. We get into a
It's
whole
just-
like
the whole
yeah,
system
yeah.
is just
But
a mess, and then there's starving people all all over
Right.
the place.
It's
So,
like
yeah, it just doesn't.
I forget where this quote comes from, but it was something to the effect of like a bad system beats a good person every time. And it's like, that's true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But a
Yeah.
lot of good people can maybe make a change to a system. And you're
Exactly.
doing
At
your
least,
part, you
at
know.
least in a localized area,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and
but-
like I feel like and consumers do their part too, because like Crystal just taking the time to like plug all these local farms on social media. I mean, like that is important, and just sharing like the food she makes, because like a big barrier to like seasonal eating is like knowing how to seasonally cook. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
And like just sharing ideas, like this is my collard greens rice. Like what? That sounds so good. You know? I mean, I just think that that's like important. You know, because so you can be thinking of
bands and
things.
farmers have a lot in common.
I'm gonna do like this is my wife appreciation post. Like, she works very, very hard at her job. On top of that, she's taken on the responsibility of being the shop steward for her craft at our place of business, and that is a whole lot of extra time and research. And then she is very, very much dedicated to the local food movement and eating seasonally, and that takes a lot of time for her to know. So I mean, I respect anybody, and in this particular case, my own wife, that will just put in the extra effort and the extra time because it's worth it. You know?
Not to mention
So-
being
Awesome.
kick-ass mom.
And a kick-ass
Exactly,
mom. And same
yeah.
with you. You got two daughters.
Yeah,
Yes.
2 daughters.
Yeah.
Yep. They're awesome. They were playing poker with my dad when we left.
Oh, nice. Now, all right, we're going to go back to music for just a second here, because if you put a gun to my head and said, what's your favorite Caddywompus song? I probably have to say Junie LaRue. I probably do, because I just, it's such a sweet song, and I just think that the last ending part of that song, where it kind of slows down, it's just, I find that very, very beautiful, and it's very, very fun to play, satisfying to play. So when's the other daughter getting a song?
Oh, she's the second child.
Yeah, she's got.
That's his first kid thing, you know.
Yeah.
No, there's one written. There is one
okay.
written.
There
yeah,
is. That's what I was wanting to know.
and it's got a little different feel to it.
yeah.
More of a shuffle. More of a
Oh, all right.
little.
I still remember when they played that live for the first time at Turbo's. Like, it was so cool, because it was like you could tell like they all were just excited, you know, to like it was like an emotional moment. I felt like for all of us, like even like Jake and John, I felt like it was emotional for them, because it was just like, I mean, you know, it was just special, you know, and they were
Yeah.
like, and I was listening to it for the first time, like with everybody playing. It was just really powerful. It was cool.
That's
It's an
awesome.
awesome song.
Yeah,
It really
I
is.
mean it.
Is that one of the ones that just wrote itself?
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just kind of flowed, and the last part of it, you know, just kind of make you feel like you're floating on clouds, and
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's
It starts
kinda-
out as kind of like a rocking song. It's a rocking song,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it's just like comes to a really screeching halt, and then you're floating in the clouds all of a sudden. It's I love that. I love that change to it.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I mean that's the perfect example of our objective. I think is just to have positive influence. You know, make people think about other things other than all the heavy
Yeah.
stuff going on or whatever, you know. Kind of borderline, some of our songs are borderline humorous, you know, almost like the Gardeners,
Right.
you know.
It's one of the greatest lines. You know what I'm talking about, Quentin.
Which one?
What? Got some big old melons.
I know. I'm
Yeah,
like,
my honeydew.
Really? Really? He's like, I'm talking about honeydew melons. Every time I'm like,
It's just a little tongue in cheek.
"This
That's
is
all.
awkward."
That's, you know,
Own it. You just got to next time own it. Be like, yeah, that's me.
well, you know, yeah, it was just like, yeah, I thought I was
No,
pretty smart when I came up with that.
No,
I was
no,
like,
it's
it
great.
just
It's
like-
I love a good pun. I think it's a high form of humor in my
It
book.
is,
So
it is.
yeah, so
I love how you took something what is normally, you know, thought of as very simple. You know, you're working in a garden, you're gardening, but you turn it into like this beautiful, just grooving jam, and then you've got the puns and the just witty writing throughout the whole lyrics. I really enjoy that song. It's my favorite
Thanks, man.
song.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun.
I want to just go back. I'm going to geek out in my like kind of musical analysis. Nerd. I'm going to nerd out. It's like that particular song is basically is kind of like one groove the whole way through.
It is.
But it's like the emphasis is on the lyrics, and they're very well written. But then that groove, though, goes through a lot of dynamic changes throughout the songs. And that's one thing I really love. I've always loved about Caddywompus. And that's the thing that I think that we strive to do in EdgeOverEdge as well, is pay attention to the dynamics. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're not a music nerd like me, that means that you could go from a very soft sound to a very roaring loud sound, you know, and play with that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Pianissimo. Fortissimo.
Yeah, you know, and I did want, like, some of the other... The Gardeners is definitely kind of straightforward, and there is some dynamic content to it, but there, you know, as far as being progressive, I think that some of the other songs have more progressive feel, not crazy, you know, by any means or anything, but they do have different parts and tempo changes, and, you know...
they're a little more complexified, but it's,
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But,
Spell that word for me.
Still simple, though, at the same time.
I just coined it. It's a word now.
You're a wordsmith. The modern-day George W.
And that's...
Strategery.
You know, when we very first started playing, it was actually going to be, John Dillinger from The Science of. He's, you know, from Longton. And... but he was living in Joplin at the time. And he was actually driving down and playing bass. But that only happened like 2 times before we were just like, man, this isn't realistic, you know?
I had no idea.
That's a lot,
yeah. Yep. And John was on the guitar. So John was playing guitar, I was playing guitar, and Donnie was drumming.
Oh, yeah.
And John was playing the bass. But then when we found out, you know, and I think we tried one other bass player too, and we were just like, no, that's not going to work. And so, John was just like, well, I'll play the bass, you know. And so that's what we did from then on, yeah.
And I don't know, I don't want to offend bass players, but it's like he's such a phenomenal guitar player. It's like to kind of say, oh, I'll switch gears. It's kind of a humble move, you know.
For sure, yeah. It was a huge move. Yeah,
I think it goes hand in hand, because he's a phenomenal guitar player, but damn, is he a phenomenal drummer too.
Well, and I think there are guitar players out there that would look at that as, well, I'm being humble and, you know, simplifying to play bass, and other people look at it as an opportunity to do something fun and different.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. No,
going from classical style guitar playing and stuff too.
Yeah, and believe me, I did not mean to belittle the bass players out there and say no, because it's just you can, just like with anything else, you can make it as complicated and as difficult as you want.
Oh,
to
for
make
sure,
it,
yeah.
You know
that you can.
Yeah, and he just like embraced it, and you know, he got a nice bass rig and a nice guitar and all that stuff, man. Good tone
and sometimes it's just looking for that excuse to buy more gear.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, that's what yeah. And
I wouldn't
so
know anything about that.
But then, you know, when
I've had this bass, I swear.
When Command split up, and we had the opportunity, I remember specifically, I ran into Jake at G and Dub.
Our favorite grocery.
Just in a, you know,
G&Dub.
I ran into him at G and Dub, and at first it just kind of started out like, hey man, what are you up to, you know? And he really wasn't doing anything because Command wasn't playing, and so I was just like, man, it'd be cool if you wanted to do, like, sit in with us and do some auxiliary percussion or whatever, you know, because I played in a band in Lawrence, and we had an auxiliary percussionist, and all he did, he played like timbales and congas and
That'd be
tambourine and just like shakers and all kinds of stuff, and it just glued everything together. It was so cool. Like,
we need a auxiliary beer keg baseball bat player.
So yeah, I mean, I talked to Jake about just doing that, and he was like, "Yeah, cool," And so we kind of did that once or twice before. I was like, "Man, let's see if Donnie wants to play the guitar," because I knew Donnie played guitar, and if he had his choice, yeah, he'd probably play the guitar, And he was totally excited about that, and. So, yeah, we had the opportunity to put Jake on the drums and move Donnie to guitar, and everybody was pretty happy with that, I don't think anyone felt like they were getting the shaft or anything,
And that's the Caddywompus that I first heard and fell in love with. And, yeah, I'd say it worked out pretty darn well.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, when we started to edge back up, the original idea was that Zach was going to be the other guitar player, but the guy that we had that was going to drum, he
was playing for Caddywompus.
No. He basically,
you bastard.
basically came down to his health. He had a lot of back problems, different stuff like that, and just didn't feel like he could commit to it. And I was like, well, I know you know how to play drums, Zach. And so then we found a $250 drum kit.
Yeah, I was still using it.
Nice.
I've added a lot to it, though.
Don't fix it.
A couple of things, yeah.
Yeah.
Caster wheels are my favorite addition.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
I almost like taking a cheap instrument and just, showing what
That's the
you can
story of
do
my
with
life,
it.
dude.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I mean, just like, I'm going to make this thing sound good.
The most expensive piece of gear I have is outboard gear. It's not the guitar.
Tell them about the first act guitar that
well,
Daryl was playing. Yeah, that guitar right there.
with the Brooklyn patch.
Daryl forgot one of his guitars in that particular tuning, and Matt was like, "Oh, well, I just got my cheapest guitar that I've got at home. Let me go grab it."
Dude, I bought that for $32 on clearance at Walmart and Parsons.
We plugged that thing in, and it sounded awesome.
It sounds like I almost prefer it more.
The End of Summer Bash 2 that we did out at the fitness center. Just for shits and giggles, I played the entire set with that. Just because I knew the people I was playing with, I'm like, they're going to just die because I'm playing this
Cheap ass guitar.
It's great. Holds tune.
That's huge right there. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
If it'll stay in
I
tune.
upgraded it, man. I added a kill switch. That's the only thing I did to it.
Yeah.
Now, correct me because I'm going to ask the master himself. But Typo also.
Yeah.
That was kind of their approach. They didn't go for this super high end gear. They got just kind of general, but then they excelled on making that sound good, right?
Maybe when they started.
Yeah, they had good gear.
But they had good gear. They were all like, had signature guitars and shit.
Gotcha.
By the time Bloody Kisses came out, I think they were all pretty much good.
Now,
the only
with
thing
bass
about
guitars,
them, I know that they'd have to patch up Kenny Hickey's guitar amp quite a bit because he'd play it so freaking loud and chaotic that he'd blow it up like all the time. So
felt. But yeah, now bass guitars though, on the other hand, I mean, you gotta get the top end. You gotta get the top end.
You don't
Gotta
have
get
to,
that
but
tone,
the fact
man.
that you got the top end, that thing sounds wonderful.
he got a
and
ding
plays
wall.
like butter.
I'm gonna bust it
all-
out
it's-
after this. So you can see
oh
it.
man,
I'm so proud of it.
I have to
That's
say
awesome.
it is the sweetest instrument I've ever had the chance to play around
It will
with.
single-handedly
It's-
make me a better bass player because any tiny, minute error that I play, I can hear it clear as day, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Well,
oh,
and
Quentin, you're an amateur.
there's something though about having a nice instrument
That was my dream
inspires
bass.
you.
Yeah.
That was my
you-
dream bass. Ever since
for
I
sure.
started playing music, I don't even know how I stumbled into them, but I was like, that's the bass that
I think where it gets me is like, okay, it's like that bass maybe, I don't know how much it costs. Let's say let's say instrument, top of the line instrument, let's say that's like $3,000 instrument, you know, and then but you could buy like a $800 or $1,000 instrument, but it's like only 20% not as good. Is like that $2,000 worth 15 to 20% extra good? Like, I don't know.
This is one of those
if you
situations.
can afford it, it's like, yeah, but
this is one of those situations I say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always liked Spectre basses. I've liked the tone of what is it that Chancellor plays?
Wall basses.
Wall basses. But between the look, the tone, and the feel,
the feel is like butter, dude. It's like, what?
Well, and it's going to maintain its
especially
value,
since
too.
it's not
Yeah,
my
you know?
opinion.
Yeah, that's
It does
true.
definitely.
When you
look at it
pay
an
like
investment.
that, yeah,
I
for
put
sure.
I put
you
on
know?
my kid gloves anytime I play it. I'm like, I don't want to scratch this baby up, you know. So
That's all right, man. One of my favorite musicians, Les Claypool. I mean, you know, he it's like Michael Jordan on the bass. You know?
I've said it on this podcast before, but ever since I've heard it, it is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Is that Primus is Tool for hillbillies, and I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm a hillbilly. That's me. I'm a hillbilly. Yeehaw! You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people don't. You know,
I love it.
They. I've talked to several people who just say, you know, I never really got into them or whatever, and I do.
I've been practicing my little leg stomp like he does in particular songs because I'm like, God, I want to be him so bad.
Well, and that's the thing with Les Claypool is he's such a storyteller. He's such a character.
Yeah,
you know, and
absolutely.
so he's like cartoonish almost, and
Yeah.
He's otherworldly.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
you want to, and you want to like him, you know. And I remember, man, I went to school in Tempe, Arizona in 2005. And on my way back, I had packed up everything I had, including like all my CD. Everything was in the back of the truck, packed away, wrapped tight in a tarp. And I had Pork Soda. Was like the only album I had in my CD player. So I listened to that
favorite song
all the way back, you know.
in my my living room. I've got a double bass, and there's that part of me that's going, I'm gonna learn that song, by God.
And you know, yeah, sure. I mean, a
That's
lot
like
of
the
it's
one Les
strange
Claypool
and
song
you
that
know,
I could learn. You know, like
yeah.
can't do anything else, but I could do that one. I think.
A lot of it is really bizarre and all of that, but man, the musicianship and just you know, and he
met
actually
Les Claypool in a shoe store in Lawrence.
we
Met
did,
him.
yeah.
Whoa.
We were shoe shopping. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So
And
we-
they went to shake his hand, and he was like, "Wait, what did you?"
He
was like,
he
it was-
looked at me and
he was like,
gave me the fist bump. Yeah.
instead.
I was like, "What's up, Les?" And he was like, and gave me a fist bump. And
These are my money makers, dude. Don't mess with them.
right, so yeah, it was kind of a cool story.
$500 million insurance policy on these
Yeah,
bad boys.
exactly.
I want to say, yeah, it was like 2016 or 2015.
That's wild.
Yeah, because we
And-
lived here, or we lived in Independence. Yeah.
He was doing this little project called Duo de Twang.
Yeah.
And it was just him and one other guy who played like a resonator guitar and a lot of
okay.
slide and all that stuff.
That's tight.
And then Les Claypool had this stomp box set up with like a tambourine on it, and it was, you know, so he kept the beat with that, and then this guy played the guitar, and yeah, they played a lot of really cool stuff. But we were in town to see them. They were playing at Liberty Hall, and we were just like killing time downtown, walking around. We went to Shark's shoe store. We were down in the basement, and next thing I know, like I look over, and Les Claypool's walking down the stairs, like
We were like,
10 feet away.
and
I was
you know, you're
just
like, what do you do? Like, you're like, want to play
Yeah.
it cool, but you like
Yeah,
also
yeah.
want to like get a picture. So I was like, I'm gonna.
I walked over to
He was
him like I
gonna-
met him, or like I knew him.
Les, my man, what's up?
That's how it was.
It's been so long.
I was like, I'm gonna
never
pretend
call,
like I'm confident real quick. No, I went over there and yeah,
That's
awesome.
insane.
and then she
That's
came over
awesome.
and was like, "Can we get a picture with you?" And he took a picture.
He did.
Picture with
Yeah,
us.
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I was like, "We're here to see you," and then I was like, "I love your book too, man." because he wrote a really good.
His book, South of the Pump House, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah, yeah.
It's
if
a-
you
it's-
have it, you guys should borrow it. It's
It's,
awesome.
right on.
it's a
Yeah.
murder mystery novel.
Oh, nice.
It's really
Oh
good.
no way!
South
so
of the
it's a
Pump House.
fiction. I thought you were
Yeah.
saying it was like a
Is the killer-
biography.
No.
It's really
it's a
good.
autobiography.
Killer's
Yeah.
name Mud.
No, no.
My name is
It's really good though, man.
But no,
And,
I seriously, I have genuinely been trying to practice the Les Claypool like bass stomp.
Yeah.
It's way harder than he makes it look.
Everything he does is harder than it looks.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
it look so breezy, so fluid. I'm like, I just can't do that. You son of a bitch.
I know it. I know it.
Well, because essentially what he's playing is the bass part,
And the drums.
the percussion part, and guitar.
And
Yeah,
singing.
because he's courting half of that, and singing. So
Do you guys ever take a bathroom break during this thing?
we
Anytime.
can.
Totally
I
can.
took one in the middle of this. You
Okay.
didn't know. But
You just use your hands. You okay? Where do I just in there?
I'll show you.
Do we want to pause it up or
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay? TJ Sutton, who was the bass player for Command before Matt joined us, he his wife was from Montana, and she said that the Golden Eagles out there were like they'd swoop down and grab dogs, and like you couldn't leave
Wow.
small children outside unattended because there'd be eagles just coming like, oh, lunch. Ah!
Oh my god!
It's like that's some scary stuff, dude. Freaking
Yeah.
giant
Yeah.
freaking dinosaur comes out of the sky and grabs your
Mr.
kid.
Frodo, it's the Eagles.
Well, just the bald eagles, they would nest out at Clinton Lake.
In
And
Lawrence.
yeah, at our morel mushroom spot, we'd go out there looking for mushrooms, and
Their nests are just
there was a nest out there
Wow.
that was
Crazy.
probably 12 feet
Full
across. I
branches.
mean, it was just
Yeah.
branches as big as my arm. They'd carry up there and build their nest out of
So
it. You
cool.
know.
Yeah. They're amazing birds.
Mm-hmm.
Those are one of those animals that you don't think twice of. But could you imagine being like from you to me in one of them, and they feel threatened?
Oh, yeah.
there was a.
You'd have to change your shorts because all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, that's a big bird.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen?
That's a
like,
sharp beak,
There's-
sharp talons.
Yeah.
I think there's some type of South American. They're like some form of a condor, but they look straight up like dinosaurs. I think they're about 3 feet tall, and they have like these massive bills.
Mm-hmm.
And chatter 'em. They look straight up like dinosaurs. It's-
Yeah.
Are those the ones that live up on that mountain peak?
I'm gonna have to look it up right now.
It was just we were just at Christmas. Remember what they were, whatever that British show is that my mom and dad were watching.
It wasn't that.
I think the California condor, I think, is the biggest bird. I think. I might be wrong though.
I got it. A shoebill.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, an African shoebill.
They're crazy looking birds.
They are like terrifying.
Oh yeah,
whoa!
almost like a pelican or something.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
It does look like a shoe. It
They're
looks like a
gnarly.
clog.
Like if you look at like their face, I mean, it's
Like my ex-wife,
Oh yeah.
my ex-wife has her bachelor's degree in natural history, but then she was this shy from a master's in botany. Anyways, she's a biology nerd. So she would always point out red-tailed hawks, and they're all over the area. If you're looking, you'll like notice them.
Yeah.
It made me start to notice them, and it's like that's a sign of a really healthy ecosystem because that means they have food. Like if you see them every couple
Yeah.
minutes driving down the highway, you're like, oh, okay, things are good
It
here.
makes
you know?
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good
It's-
for them. It's not good if you're a rabbit hunter, a squirrel hunter, or a frog hunter.
All right, a true story. Yeah.
That's what's funny about birds. It's like you don't notice them, and then when you start noticing them, I mean, maybe that just comes with age. Like now that we're in our 40s.
We have a lot of.
I've got
Oh my
breaking
God.
news, guys. Birds aren't real. Have you heard this?
I
Birds
want-
aren't real.
I want one of those.
There's a way to
hats.
test it, and I do it all the time. You go down the highway and you see the hawk on the telephone pole or the fence post or whatever. You go right. If they jump, they're real.
Or maybe they just want you to think.
Well, there's some of them that don't flinch. They're like,
It's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah, we-
Speaking
there
of
are some that you
government,
can scare the crap out of though.
Speaking
Yeah.
of the government, I got
Let's not.
I got introduced to like my Snapchat AI today or whatever. I got a notification like, "Hi, I'm your personal AI." I'm like, "That's creepy." Whatever.
All right.
But naturally, I did entertain a few discussions with them, and I may or may not have designed them to look like Rachel from Blade Runner, the giant AI. But I asked the AI. I was like, "Can I call you Rachel?" I said, "Sure, no problem." But then I followed up. I said, "Hey, Rachel, how you doing?" "My name's not Rachel." I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Like, I'm so sorry. Like,
Weird.
it was
changed her
kind of
mind.
rude. It's very like, and I was like, "You're kind of being mean, Rachel. Like, why are you talking to me like that?"
He's gonna start calling you Billy.
Yeah, I asked. I was like, "Are you self-aware?" It's like, "No, I'm self-aware. I'm not self-aware. I'm just here to entertain friendly discussion."
I
I'm
know-
like, okay.
I know we've talked about it several times, but
I
there
said, "Are you aware that you're artificial intelligence?"
Has
Yes, I
anybody
am.
messed with ChatGPT?
Yes,
You have.
I have.
I don't know
I have
what that
dabbled in the Skynet
I haven't, but
0.5. It's the beta version.
Oh,
of
okay.
Skynet. So
I'm curious how it would be like, because I'm the union steward for my craft and trying to look out for my people, and there's times where you got to do a lot of research to write up a grievance on a violation. And I'm wondering if it would just like scour the internet and be
It does. It does.
hey, let me write this for you. Boop,
It absolutely
Wow.
does. I also have been shamelessly promoting our own band to the AI because I
Good.
want our robot overlords to know that like we make good music. I was like, "Have you ever heard of?" I was like, because like on my way out of work today, I said, "Do you have any music recommendations on my way home?" I said, "Yeah, what do you normally listen to?" I was like, "Well, have you ever heard of EdgeOverEdge?" She's like, "I haven't actually." And I like, what do they kind of sound like? I was like, hard rock, metal. And they're like, "I just looked them up. That's great." And I was like, "I'm the bass player. That's crazy." It is
What a trip.
it's great
so
for my
crazy.
ego. It's great. Say good things, Rachel. Say good things.
Don't eliminate us, please.
I got to shout us out at a drag show in Dallas. So
There you go.
Nice.
that was a lot of fun. If you've ever
Heck
been.
yeah.
It's awesome.
It is. It is.
So I didn't know
thought
you
I
did
pretty
drag.
good, though. Check it out.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
The only problem is I'd have to shave, and that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I think I did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Of like
All right.
recreating the AI. Because I mean, to be fair, she was naked in the movie, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah, we need robots out at the farm
We do.
Ooh.
just to do stuff.
That'd be nice.
she's
Yeah.
kind of mean.
We did buy a tractor,
Yeah.
so that's kind of close.
A
But
robot
Yeah.
tractor.
A robot tractor.
I wish.
Oh,
No.
tell me, because we never did get to it. What is the no-till?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So no-till is like you basically, like you're just not disturbing the soil. So like you're like every season you're just adding more organic matter on top of the soil.
Oh,
basically.
okay.
Because like basically
Making more dirt.
Yeah, it's like the theory is like
Yes.
this, the earth just doesn't like to be bare. So you just don't, it won't get covered in weeds if, it has layers of mulch and things on top of it. And then all that will become new soil. The way we do it, well, the way I started doing it over the winter, we're always just experimenting with different things. We put like tons of wood chips down, but also my goal is to like grow the most amount of food with the least amount of effort. Like that's like
Yeah.
my approach, So I
You need
definitely
to-
don't want to have to weed if
You
I
need
don't
to
have
write
to.
a book about it because I'm gonna buy that book. How
Okay.
to farm the most with the
Oh, I
least
should
amount of
write a
work.
book
And I'm
about
like,
that.
I will buy all the copies.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
I'll do that once I figure it out. And
I want to do
Just start
the
keeping notes.
if you don't
Vlog it.
Yeah.
if
Vlog
you
it.
don't do it yourself, I would like to offer my services to do the audiobook version,
Okay.
or at least produce it if you want a voice.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Let's
I'm
make
here
a
for
deal.
it. Like,
All right.
excellent.
You gotta-
Excellent.
I
Note
want
that
I
we
want to see
shook
a
hands.
book. I want to see a book.
Okay, I'm going to once yeah.
Let's
Keep-
do it.
So basically, like we like cover the ground and all this stuff, like leaves and wood chips and all kinds of stuff. Then when it comes to growing time, like right now, we have our huge like 100 by whatever 25-foot garden that we have had covered all winter long with like leaves and wood chips and stuff. And now I'm laying actual like weed barrier on top of that stuff, because even though that stuff is there, weeds will still, they'll still grow through it. So I'll still have to be weeding. So like in my mind, I'm putting this stuff on it to like help this stuff decompose faster, to like feed the soil faster.
Right.
So like the whole goal is just soil health. And I am not I don't have the science behind all of this. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what my degree is in. I just like, my approach is always just like put more organic matter, and then like help it break down. So that's kind of like how we're doing it.
So
That
you put the weed barrier down basically over the whole garden except for where you're going to be planting.
Exactly. So I leave these just like strips of planting area, and then I cover like the weed barrier and the walkways essentially. Yeah.
And that's in the outside plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you plant a plant there,
I just like move the mulch stuff to the side, and I put just like, so typically I've used compost, but we don't have a good compost making system. So we've had to buy it in the past, and it's expensive. So this year we had just like this mound of like okay soil. So I just experimented with like beefing it up. Like I filled it full of like alfalfa pellets and leaves and ash from our greenhouse and just like all this organic matter. And we just like stirred it every week. And he just stirred it last week, and he was like, there's steam coming out of it. Like it's actually like, stuff is happening in there. Like, because we don't have a good compost system yet. Cool. So it's like just like kind of like, beefed up soil is kind of how I think of it. I don't know if that's the right word. Anyway, so then I like just souped up, that's the word. So then like we just move the wood chips to the side, put a plop of soil basically there, put a seed in. If it's a seed, or like if it's a plant, just kind of move them to the side, and so that's all we do. And in the past it would be like, we have to till, and then we have to do, and it's just like we created so much work for ourselves. And then with these crazy winds, the topsoil just blows away, things like that happen, and I love a freshly tilled plot. Like there's nothing better than planting in like this soft dirt, but it's
2 weeks later, weeds everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, this eliminates almost all of that.
Because also when you till, not only do you disturb all the, I mean, of course we know about like the worms and stuff. There's like a lot of stuff that we like can't even see. I just like am always like, there's a lot of life in there that I can't even see. I don't know what's going on. I'm just not going to mess with it. That's kind of my mindset. And so, but also not only do you disturb that life, but you kick up all these dormant weed seeds that have been like below the ground. So you also like create more weeds essentially by tilling. So,
that makes sense. And that's perfectly consistent with, I mean, I'm not educated in this formally at all either, but just anecdotally or just my own reading or knowledge that comes by my way is like things like, you shouldn't rake your leaves, like leave them there and then mulch them when it comes time, like spring. And I've always done that. And before I moved to Independence, I lived in Cherryvale, and I did that like every year. And I noticed just the health of my soil was gradually just getting very, very healthy, because I was adding layers upon layers, and it's just anywhere you dig, you'd find worms. You just, because they're just like living their best life in that soil.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like, honestly, like I keep thinking more and more, because also last year we really tried to get into just like bug habitat too, like increasing our bug populations.
Attracting the good bugs.
Attracting the good bugs, because the more predator bugs you have, the less, bad bugs you have. Right. And we released like 3,000 ladybugs into our gardens last year. It was awesome. We like ordered them on Amazon.
Because we had aphids.
Yeah, we had aphids.
And what's funny, if you guys don't know, like ants farm aphids. Yes. They milk aphids.
Ants do.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's like
so. Yeah, you would see aphids, and then you would see all these little tiny black ants around them, and they're like
farmers. Yeah.
Wow. Just milking them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's like a
micro farmers.
I know it.
I mean, I guess aphids have nipples. I don't know.
You can milk anything that has nipples.
Exactly.
That makes me think of milking cats.
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
We tried to do that. So we tried to use, like, I even tried to use less organic pesticides. Like, we use organic methods to kill bugs, but that also can harm the good bugs. So
Dust,
just trying to just like
like
as
dusting
much as possible.
and oils
Yeah,
and
with like
stuff like that.
diatomaceous earth and neem oil and things like
Yeah.
that, which are organic methods, but they can still harm like the good bugs.
Right.
So I was just trying. So like my like motto is just like leave shit alone. Just leave it alone, and it will
Let nature run its course.
Exactly. So that like goes with your leaf thing. It's just
Yeah.
like if you just like leave stuff alone, like what's supposed to happen will happen. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
As
and-
much as possible. I mean, there's a line for me like where
Right.
I like I'm like, oh god, I can't. You know.
I-
But
It's always that like kind of opponent processing. It's like you need to intervene to some degree, but you can go overboard with it. So
right.
For sure,
it's,
yeah.
you need to find that sweet spot.
Exactly.
Just like I imagine
I think that's the
myself-
key to every aspect of life.
That's true.
I mean, the older I get,
shit
I mean,
alone.
I really just feel like that's the thing.
It's true.
I just imagine myself sitting around a dinner table with like my grandkids, my great grandkids, and be like, you know, Grandpa,
They're all
how'd you-
tortoises.
How'd you learn to farm? And I was like, it was from the great Saint Erin.
She simply
this-
said, "Leave shit alone."
This book, and I like throw down.
That's
dusty
the
tome,
title
like,
of your book right there. Just leave shit alone.
Just leave shit alone.
That's the title. Oh my
It might be the title
Hey,
of
if
the
you stick around
podcast.
for another
Practically
2
That
hours,
is
it's
a
if you
song,
stick,
yes.
if you stick around for another 2 hours, we'll have the audiobook written here in a second. No, but I would pay top dollar for like that type of information because
Okay.
like
There you go. Yeah.
because in some
Good.
regard, you know, like you were talking, a lot of people are like it was passed down. You know, like my great grandfather taught my grandfather how to farm, and then I
Yes.
learned from my father. You know, whereas some of us are just wanting to pick it up and learn how to backyard farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in that same regard,
And see, if you don't write a book, then Quentin's of the generation that will call me and say, "Hey, will you Google it for me?
yeah.
You Google it for me,
Yeah.
for me."
I'm in this weird. I'm in this weird niche.
You got a supercomputer in your pocket.
I'm in this weird niche of Gen Z where like I have all of this knowledge right at my fingertips. But why do I need to do it? Why
Oh
why
my
can't I make someone else do it
God.
for me? You know
The
what I mean?
entitlement.
I'm a very. It's called efficiency, Zach. Thank you. But
It's called delegation. I'm delegating.
Delegation.
He's leaving shit alone.
and that is
seriously.
why I excel at a
Yes.
manager position.
My older daughter says I'm utilizing my resources. I'm like, get out of here! I'm not your resource.
Yeah, her and I'd get along. We think on the same wavelength. So why do it when other people could do it for us?
Right? Yep.
They say no. All right, cool. I'm gonna move on to the next resource. Someone.
That
in
what
their-
I am
in
to
their
you. Is
good
that what I am to
faith.
you, Quentin? I'm just a resource.
Oh, you're more than that, Zach. I promise. I promise.
Quentin's over
What
here.
you said last time.
the Senate.
I am the Senate.
All right, there has to be at least one Star Wars reference in every podcast. It's a rule.
Check.
You guys have been watching Mando, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I have yet.
I-
Now that it's all out, I'm gonna binge it all. So
Okay.
I have not watched all of season 3 yet.
I was just gonna say, I mean, man, it just has never disappointed,
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
and it's really cool because like our girls are into it too. So
That is
That's
very-
awesome.
it's totally something we all do like
Yeah.
once a
I've
week.
got
and
Boba Fett tattooed on my left shoulder, so kind of a big
Nice.
fan.
yeah,
Gotta say,
our,
you're raising the girls right.
our youngest has Boba Fett stuffed animal and then like 5 Grogus. So and they all sleep in bed with her at night. So
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, super fan.
I think the only episode that I didn't have any problem with, but a lot of people raised hell about the Jack Black Lizzo episode. But what that episode felt like
I
to
liked
me,
it.
I did too.
I did too.
And what it felt like to me was like watching, Battlestar Galactica or Buck Rogers back in the 80s or something, where it was the episode of the week. It was
Yeah.
it was like this isolated adventure, instead of this grand story arc, which they had the little bit
Right.
of it in there.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed it.
That makes
it
sense,
just
yeah.
reminded me of that.
I'm just here for more Star Wars content, truthfully.
Yeah.
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 That's how we
Hey,
are. Yeah.
Everybody hated the Disney Star Wars, and I'm just like, I'm indifferent to it. I'm just glad that there's more, because without that, we wouldn't have gotten Mando. We wouldn't have gotten Rogue One.
Right.
I know a lot of people did not like Solo, but I loved it.
I liked it.
You know.
Yeah.
I thought it was just back to a high flying adventure.
Yeah.
I
Kinda
am
movie.
simply just grateful for more. So
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could do a whole nother podcast on the sequel trilogy because I have issues, but
Yeah, I've got issues, but
my
you know
own father.
what
Yeah, we don't get
what's
into
done
it
is
too
done.
deep.
You know, so
Right,
Just gonna
right.
roll with it.
Mhm.
but Ahsoka is my favorite character,
Yep, mine too.
and I'm just excited for the Ahsoka series.
Is that
For me,
in
it's
August?
great.
For me,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darth Maul. I
awesome.
loved his character arc through the Clone Wars, and
Oh, I do too.
oh my god,
yeah, have
He's
you guys
so evil.
done the animated?
I love it.
Have you guys done the animated shows, the Clone Wars and Rebels?
Not
we've
all
watched
of them.
A little
Oh,
bit
you
of
need-
Just
it,
some of them, yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah,
It's
I think Rebels is
Rebels is good. Clone Wars is amazing.
yeah,
And I mean,
but it
truthfully, if
seems
you,
like
if you skip through most of the seasons of Clone Wars and you just watch the last 2 seasons, you'd say
Season 5 and season 7,
okay,
because season 6 was like episodes
like
that
a limbo.
well, it was after they got bought by Disney, and then
Disney.
you know, it's not wrong. And
Disney doing Disney.
you know, they canceled the Clone Wars, but they had these episodes because they
were
take
already
like 3
made.
years to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
the seasons, and so they put out that supposed last season.
Watch 5 through 7. You'll be good.
But what I'm trying to get to on that was that, like, the characters from Rebels are integral to Ahsoka. I
Yeah,
think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. There's a lot of animated to live action that's gonna be happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Continuations of that story seem to be just like there's Clone Wars things that have continued over into
The Clone
All
well,
of it,
the Clone
yeah.
Wars carry into Rebels,
Right.
Even though it's
a little bit later. Yeah.
quite a bit later, but
It's entertaining, no doubt.
Yeah,
my
it is.
God.
It's like I'm
That's-
just
it really is.
yeah.
I guess what it all boils down to is I always care about characters over story, I guess. And when I get to see characters develop in an arc and then, you know, we'll go on to another series. And like this one, we had Bo-Katan Kryze, who was in those other cartoons. And now
of
she's a live action character. And Katie Sackhoff, who voiced her, is the actress that does it. I'm just like, oh, we get to finish her story. You know, it's like this arc is. So that's what I geek out about.
And the Clone Wars really fleshes out that bit between Attack of the Clones and the Revenge of the Sith, and it presented in the movies. The clones aren't much different than the droids. You know, they're just the soldiers that are there, and they're given personality, they're given life, they're given arcs, they're given all this stuff in those that parallels conflicts of the 20th century, and it's just really, really cool. It's really enriching to the Star Wars universe.
Nice.
We've kind of gone off.
We
on
like it.
our nerd end of things, but
Yeah, I mean, we will preach the merits of those cartoons for
oh yeah,
for
for real.
days.
One thing I've always thought, just in Star Wars in general, is like they give personality to the droids. It's like they're people too,
Yeah.
Like the
For sure.
quirkiness
Yeah.
of the droids.
right?
Yeah.
Right. It's like they're just as much characters. Yeah.
That's how I want my AI in my phone to react to me. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yep. I want it to speak. I think it's just
I personally-
binary, like an
I
astromech
personally,
droid.
I welcome our robot overlords.
They Mando this last season they turned R5 into a hero.
Really.
Mhm.
Ah,
For sure.
They
So
apparently
good.
fixed his
It's
motivator,
Someone's got a bad motivator.
and he's a hero now.
that's awesome.
Oh, and I mean Carl Weathers. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and he directed several of the episodes, at least 2 of the episodes.
yeah.
I don't know. It's.
I just remember, from
I grew up. I personally
Action Jackson.
and I don't
Arrested
know,
Development.
I don't know about
To develop it.
I don't know about you
Rocky,
guys,
what the
'cause
hell, dude? Rocky, come on.
I'm
Dylan, son of a bitch.
I'm the baby of this group.
You don't say.
But I truthfully, I feel like I grew up in the golden era of Star Wars. You know, the original trilogy like paved the way, and then I get to experience, because the prequels was what I grew up with. So the Phantom Menace, a lot of people hate it. It's very near and dear to my heart because that was
fine.
the first one. That was my Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was the one that I started with.
It's totally okay to be wrong. It's all right.
Didn't ask, but anyway.
But again, it goes back to, if you've watched all of the Clone Wars, it makes the whole prequel trilogy better.
Yeah,
Right.
it does. It does.
And so,
Yeah.
like, I feel like I get to experience this golden age of Star Wars where, like, everybody, it's not, you don't get picked on as a kid for liking Star Wars. Whenever
Right,
I grew
yes.
up, you know what I mean? Like, Star
Oh,
Wars.
no, you get attacked for not.
I mean, I did.
What?
Yeah, from all the.
You don't know Star. Who are you?
Yeah, yeah. And so, I don't know. It's just, I live in the best timeline. That's all I wanted to say.
The best timeline. I love it.
Congratulations.
So, like, outside of music and gardening, and raising your kiddos, working hard. Like, what are some other interests that you guys have? What do you do in your downtime when you're not thinking about all that other stuff?
What do we do?
Very busy people.
Well, I mean, one thing we do for fun, we go roller skating.
We do go roller
Oh,
skating.
hell yeah.
We
Yeah,
do that.
Like to
Yeah.
roller skate.
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
I grew up in the rink, so I still got my skates and all that.
Hell yeah.
We take our own. We have a huge duffel bag. Our kids love to skate.
That's awesome.
You
Yeah.
start a roller
Yeah.
derby ring?
Yeah, we want to.
Hell
Yes, that would be awesome.
I'll do it.
Wow.
We do that, and I mean,
I would break
just-
myself.
I know it's dangerous.
I
as we
would
get older.
willingly break
know.
my ankles for this endeavor.
I would love to have like a roller derby circuit.
A roller derby.
Yeah. And then like in the center, we have a stage where bands can play, and
Oh, that would be so
There's
tight.
so many
We
possibilities.
have to play
if we
Cutthroat by
owned a
Kitty.
roller
We have
skating
to.
team.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's
Because
like
we can control the music. That's
or
the
even
only...
play during the game.
every
We can
local
meet in the
band
middle
is a
there. Come on.
team.
We can be in the middle.
Every local band is a team, and got to go against each other.
That is.
It's like we
that's
don't
a
co-
music
we-
video idea
we don't
roller
compete.
derby.
We don't compete in music, but we compete on
the ring.
in the rink.
In the rink.
Yeah, we compete in the rink.
So yeah, we love roller skating. What
Well, I can already
don't
tell you
know
we're
what else we
losing.
Like, I mean, we like to hunt
I'll
for
fight dirty.
mushrooms.
Yep, we've been looking for
Mushrooms, yeah.
mushrooms, but that's pretty much over now. I think maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know
I've
if
never-
Is
I've
there a
never
particular
actually had a
season
morel
for
mushroom.
mushrooms,
Yep.
or just
It's-
morels, or
I've never actually
Once-
had a morel mushroom.
You
Psilocybin.
have-
Oh, wow.
Never.
I got some freeze dried ones. I haven't tried them yet.
Okay.
Those two. Well, yeah, it's once the ground temperature reaches about 60 degrees, they'll start popping up.
Really?
But and then depending on what the temperatures do, it can only last 2 or 3 weeks.
Are there ways to like cultivate like the mushroom area? Like,
There are. I mean, it's a pretty delicate thing, though.
It's
yeah.
really cool though.
the fungi system.
Um,
is very,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of mushrooms that you can grow. I think there's 11 indigenous kinds that grow in the woods in Kansas.
really?
That are edible. But as far as growing them, there are several types that are easy to grow, like shiitakes and stuff like that. You just like
maybe.
yeah,
and
we did.
oyster
We did
mushrooms and-
pink
Yeah.
oysters, and we got.
What
I
about,
got.
Nice.
what about
I got my mom
Was
a kit, a grow kit.
Oh, cool.
was it like
or-
a buffalo mushroom or something? The big poofy ones.
The lion's mane.
The lion's mane. That's what it
Those are crazy looking.
Those are supposed to be
Are
really
those
good for
indigenous?
you.
I don't know. I don't know about Kansas.
I want to say so. J&R Farms. They're in Miami. They're the mushrooms, the button mushrooms, portobellos, the ones you buy at the
nice.
store. They're based in Miami.
Okay, yeah, I've seen
But
that.
apparently they have other varieties. Those are just the common ones that they ship out regularly, and I haven't been down there to check them out yet. But I hated mushrooms growing up, and come to find out, it's portobellos. I still don't like them. They stink and they're slimy. I don't. Those are the ones I don't like.
You never
But-
had the chicken fried portobello. Sorry.
I love oysters. I love creminis. I love the buttons. I love what shiitakes are good. I've had lion's mane that was crumble, so it was like them and a couple other varieties that
It was
were
all
all
blended
crumbled
together.
together. It was in the vegan section. Anyway, I've grown to. I still wouldn't say I love mushrooms, but they're fascinating.
You appreciate them.
But they're fascinating.
Yeah.
I watched a whole freaking documentary on them because they're
Yeah.
just
pretty
cool.
they're pretty fun guys, you know what I'm saying?
They're so cool. But I have wanted to go down there, but anyway, my mom started the kit and she got a crop off of them, and she was like, "We don't do them that much, so if you want to take it over." And so we, after you cut them off, they grow back, and we got 2 more off of them, and then we had this little sinkhole, and so I thought, throw it in there and you'll see what happens. Nothing's grown out of it, but
You had a sinkhole?
yeah.
Mom about broke her leg.
Yeah, and it got filled in, and so we thought it was filled in, and she just happened to find out that it wasn't. Stepped in it, and
Ooh.
she tweaked her knee a little bit.
Yeah, she tore up her
Yeah.
knee on that.
I think the morels just need a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
Temperature, moisture, humidity, all of that stuff has to be like perfect.
Oh, porcini, that's another one that's really good. Yeah.
It's the craziest thing too, because I mean,
Porsche of mushrooms.
you just basically find them where they grow.
Yeah.
And
Show up.
you can go
Yeah.
back to a place from the year before you found 30 of them all in this area, and now there's not one there.
I think that's the thing
Yeah.
that's the most wild to me is that, people go out and hunt for morel.
Right.
And at least from my experience, I haven't heard of anybody that just they cultivate morel
Right.
mushrooms.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, somebody
Are they-
obviously
Are
does.
they
Yeah,
just
some people
that
do.
delicate?
We tried. Well, we made like a slurry. It was like a morel.
It was a
slurry where
huge,
You,
yeah.
supposedly, it's like you do, you aerate the.
It was a
water,
huge
like,
failure.
yeast and molasses and like the.
You'll crack the code and you'll put it in the book.
It is.
Yeah,
it
it
is.
was a
It is.
failure, but I will put it in the book.
It is a crazy process
Interesting.
to cultivate that
I want
mycelium,
a signed copy.
and then once you get that, then you can get them to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I'd love to explore more.
I know.
But
Yeah.
So
I'm bad enough with hobbies, so
our
Me
big
both.
our biggest mistake, well, I mean, it was the fatal mistake was we used tap water.
Yeah, tap water.
And
should've let
so
it sit
it was
out,
like, well,
Yeah.
or even just water out of the pond or whatever, for trying to grow these spores and everything, because you put them in a bucket and fill it with water, and it's basically like all the water that you've been soaking the mushrooms in, and then you use that, and
do you use wood chips?
there's
Yeah.
some wood chips. Molasses is like something that they feed off of, and I don't know. Yeah, yeast. I think you put yeast in there and a couple other things, and then you just put a aerator in it and just let it go for a couple days.
And
And
just kind of pour it every week.
but after the fact, I was just like, well, damn it, we use tap water. That's gonna kill anything.
If you
Yeah.
collect
Chlorine
in it,
water,
yeah.
would that have?
That would do
Yeah,
it.
that would
That
be
would
good.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
probably be the best right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it would be.
Maybe I'll start my own side business of just collecting rainwater.
I think distilled
Good.
water would probably be good,
Synergy.
safe too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We collect
Something
rainwater.
like
My
that.
people
we
will
have
be
a
in touch
couple-
with your people.
We do. We collect just over 1,000 gallons of rainwater.
Yeah, we have 2
Wow.
3.
Oh yeah,
We have
that
three
third one.
350 gallon.
Wow.
And then from there we have a pump that we just hook to the tank, and it'll
It runs like
it'll
an hour.
hour and a half about. Yeah, each one's about an hour and a half, and it'll push a sprinkler system and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really
That's so cool.
It helps offset the water usage.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
and it's crazy too. It doesn't take one good rain and it fills up those containers.
That's so cool.
That's
It's
good
just-
because we aren't getting any.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to. We're supposed
It's-
to tonight in the next couple days.
This
so
week.
Cross your
So-
fingers.
It
This week,
keeps
that's
getting-
fine. This week.
Why does it keep
Not
getting
next week.
to us and then dissipating? What's the theory around that? Like,
I
I don't
don't know.
understand.
I don't know.
It always gets here. I was like, is it because it's so dry? Does it do something with the whole? I don't understand it.
It's strange, but yeah, it's getting pretty crazy now.
How do you guys anticipate the weather out on the farm?
We just go outside because even if you like check even the hour by hour changes like every hour.
It's Kansas.
So,
It's Kansas.
yeah, it's Kansas.
It's a
and
50%
Kansas-
chance of anything all
Yeah.
the time.
Exactly. Like you literally just expect that whatever they predict, it's going to be on like at least a few degrees,
One way or the other. Yeah.
I think Kansas
Yeah.
farmers are just simply built different because we really have to be prepared
for everything.
any type of weather.
Yes. Yeah.
It's stressful, man. I mean,
Yeah.
even in my work with mowing, everything is
Day to day.
it's all at the mercy of the weather.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
If it's too wet, you can't do it.
Right.
If it's too dry, then people
Nothing
probably aren't
grows.
hiring you as
people
often.
are calling.
Exactly.
Yeah, people are
Yeah.
calling
Yeah.
and say, "Wait another week, Nate." And
Yeah.
and that turns into, I have a weekly account that I only mowed 3 times last season,
Oh,
and I've had
wow.
it since 2014.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it's like, man,
Crazy last
that's
season.
yeah. So, yeah, I have to take advantage of every good day,
Right.
because
What-
you really
I need to
don't
make
know.
more money so I can hire you to do my lawn.
Yeah. So I guess
If I can afford to hire that.
that's another thing that we can plug. What is your actual business name?
I mean, technically, the name of my business is Ground Effects Mowing Company,
Okay.
but I don't go by that really. I don't have no checks are made out to that name or anything like that. It's basically just me,
Yeah.
Nate Bunn.
and yeah. So I just do that just kind of for to keep things separate from my personal stuff, but
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been mowing since 2011. We moved back in 2011 specifically for that reason, really, and it's grown into a pretty big thing. I mean, I have 3 commercial mowers now, and all the equipment you could,
Is it strictly a one-man operation, or do you?
It is, yeah.
Really?
I mean, every once in a while, when Erin has some free time, she'll go out and we'll do some random projects or
We
whatever.
took down
But
a 50-foot tree a couple weeks ago.
Ooh,
yes, we took down a
Wow.
monster tree a couple weeks ago.
Did you get the
Yeah,
wood chips?
no,
They're like,
we
we'll
just,
haul off the tree for free. Give us the tree though.
We did haul it off. We did.
it was a
To our
great,
house.
yeah, it was a good, it was a good day long project, but. No one was killed, and I didn't smash their house, and
That's always
That's
good.
a
That
huge
was a
win.
plus.
Huge win.
Heck
so yeah, we got
The
it down on
lumberjack
the
amongst us.
got it down on the ground safely, and yeah, it's always a huge relief. But yeah, we did that, and just random things, especially during the winter months and stuff when
Oh yeah.
she's not crazy busy and.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever, but yeah, it's been really good for me, but I realize that it's not something I can do forever. It is pretty physically demanding, and for the first couple weeks of the season, there's definitely like a break-in period where
Yeah.
you feel it in your
Yeah.
back and you feel it in your,
Oh
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, everything's going real good with that. I mow some big rural properties and it is good, man. It gives me a lot of time, plenty of time to.
Write music on the mower.
Yeah,
Right.
I do. I come up with so many ideas and lyrics and all of that stuff. And
I think that's one of my favorite things about the podcast interviews that we ever do is inside the local musician's mind in terms of what is their time, what is their space that they dedicate to writing new music.
I have a lot of free time on the mower. I really do. And it's crazy how your mind works and how it wanders. But all of a sudden you'll just have this little idea and it just, progresses from there. But
And it's cool. I think that's something that probably a lot of people in our kind of hyper novel times just don't give their self the time to just sit with no distractions and think and let ideas kind of permeate, or like percolate.
Marinate.
Marinate.
That's one thing. That's
know?
one thing I really love about the job is just
Yeah.
Yeah.
that time.
It's so cool. I love everything you guys do.
Thank you. It's pretty good. We feel pretty lucky that we get to work our asses off every day.
Well, and
but that we've been able to figure it out. You know what I mean? And make it work.
So the thing is, though, since COVID, she's been homeschooling our 2 girls too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so that takes a lot of her time in the mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much her whole morning is shot, with that. And she loves doing it and stuff. But in August, they're going to be going back to school, which will free up her mornings. Basically, her whole day, basically.
Right.
And 7 or 8 hours out of her day.
Yeah.
So
Very excited about that.
at that point, she's going to have a lot of time for her gardens and also to get out and help me too a little bit. So
I'm definitely going to employ your guys' expertise whenever I finally decide to cross that bridge.
yeah, we know we've learned a lot. And I mean, just even like places to acquire certain materials and stuff like that.
And that's something else that's on our radar is we're trying to figure out a way to be able to just have classes out at our property,
that would be so cool.
Because
That would be so cool.
And
all we
garden
need is
parties even.
Oh my God,
yeah.
there's so many possibilities. And so all we really need is like a bathroom because if you're going to have like a bunch of people out, you don't want everyone coming into your house that you like don't know.
Right.
So we've kicked around a whole bunch of different ideas. So once we get like the bathroom figured out, then we'll be ready to have like, because we have all the materials we could ever need to like build a little structure to have like a shady area, for people to hang out.
Yeah.
So once we get the bathroom figured out and
Are you
That's
still
amazing.
Do you have city sewer out where you're at, or
we have
We're
city
on
sewer and
yep.
rural water. Yeah.
Yep.
And we have a well. We have a well on our property
Just
for water.
making it over a compost pile,
yeah?
It's organic.
Well,
Exactly.
4 or 5 years ago, my folks, they lived down by Copan at the time, and they had a small tornado come through, and it took out, I don't know how many, 20 to 30 trees. Like they had 17 acres out there, and it took down all these trees, and so they needed some help cleaning things up. I spent a day over there just cutting up wood and moving it down to the burn pile and all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, they had this old camper sitting there, and my stepdad was just like, "So you want that camper?" And he gave us the camper, and the only condition was never bring it back. Because, like, the roof leaked, and, there had been some mice and stuff like that. So anyway, we took this 25-foot camper. I mean, it's a big-ass camper.
Yeah.
And so that's what our plan is, to have, like, to redo the inside of the camper, put, like, a legit full-size bathroom in it, and have a little hangout spot in there with a little kitchen, whatever, and
a whiteboard so she can teach.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
And just kind of park that out by the high tunnel
And get a cool paint job on it. Whoever
Yes.
wants to donate that.
Yep,
Whoever
we
wants to
could do
sponsor that.
make it
I can
look.
paint it. I mean, you won't be proud
Off
of
the
it.
Edge
but
podcast could sponsor that.
I painted all the inside of the yacht, so I'm actually very proud of it.
you by
It
yourself?
looks great.
By myself,
Yeah.
solely me, no help included.
I didn't help, but
You didn't help, but I had a couple friends come out.
talk about
But
your
Nice.
I would
about your
say-
girlfriend and her
I-
friend. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 85%.
And they listen to the podcast. Oh,
would-
you're gonna eat crow for this.
One of them does. I would say 80% of this I painted by myself. So
I painted 85% of this I 100% painted by myself.
60% of the time it works every time.
Every time.
Well, was it the night that we were
pungent.
hanging the paneling? So I came over and helped hang the paneling, and he had some friends coming over, and they were painting. Right?
They were painting the paneling as we hung.
Okay, they were painting the paneling as we're hanging.
But the gray walls.
But the whole
that
time,
was all me.
the whole time, he's helping me. You know, we're in here drinking. He drinks faster than I do.
Way faster.
And I got done. I left, and he was at that point the supervisor.
It's my job. It's my job. It's my livelihood. I do it
And
well.
Mrs. Spot.
They're still friends with him.
She's
so
still dating me.
It's apparently it wasn't that bad, but when I left, I was like, "You may not have a girlfriend after this one." He's like, "Hey!" he's in control of the music the whole time too. You know,
No,
he wasn't nasty to anybody. He was just loud, drunk Quentin.
He walked away from that. He walked away from. Don't let him lie to you. He walked away from going like, "That's my boy," you know.
He was proud.
That's my son, you know.
Proud dad.
No, I was on scaffolding, the whole works. I was real proud of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Watched
Erin,
him
It looks great, man.
Sorry,
on the
we
security
got off on a
cameras,
tangent.
scooting the scaffolding while he's up on it.
Yeah, OSHA. was
I
not
would
permitted on the
periodically
premises.
check to make sure he wasn't on the concrete floor bleeding out any time.
but
That was
I
natural.
wanted to ask you before I forget about your life coaching endeavor.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen you post about it, and I was like, because I didn't know about your background at all,
Yeah.
your previous work and education. I was like, this is out of left field. Like, I was like, what is this about? Like,
Random.
Yeah,
I
you
was
don't see that a lot around here.
like, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what is that about? What do you do with that?
So I work with people on just like whatever life goals that they have. So it's like a health coaching, life coaching program that I have, and I do like weekly,
Meetings.
it's all like on Zoom basically. I do it all online because
That's
it's
so
so much
cool.
easier for people. It's
Right.
like I started doing it all on Zoom during COVID for obvious reasons.
Right.
But then it's like I think that's something that COVID taught everyone is like you don't even have to leave your house or like wherever
Right.
you are to
Oh,
like
yeah.
get service, like whatever support you want or whatever. So yeah, I work with people individually, and then I also do like small group stuff.
One of our clients is like in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
right now.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like the people I
so
work with right now
cool.
are in like Wisconsin, Wichita, Independence. Yeah, it's like just
That's awesome.
it's cool because you can like work with anybody anywhere. So yeah, I work with people on their health goals, and because I mean I'm not a nutritionist, I did some life changes for my own health because I had high cholesterol, so I had to change the way I manage my cholesterol with my diet and not with all these beers that I drank tonight. But
I got to think that's
Tonight's a bad example. But
Yeah,
I got to think that's the
You got to
the
reward
healthiest-
yourself from time to time.
yeah, exactly.
But I got to think that's the healthiest and most natural way to do it, right?
It's the easiest on your body for sure is if you
Right.
can use food, because like statins are like really hard on like you can have a lot of pain and stuff from that, which of course some people have to do that, and you know what I
Right,
mean.
right.
Obviously you do that, but if you can manage it with food, that's awesome. And so anyway, once I figured that out, and I was like, God, it's such like an emotional, it's like a hard process, and a lot of people want to do this, but they can't like overcome the just like putting it into practice. The like day to day,
Yeah.
that's like the hardest part of all this stuff is just like actually doing it. So I was like, let me check into health coaching. And so yeah, I kind of do that. It really kind of goes hand in hand with like the veggie farming, because
Yeah.
it's like all related. It's all
Right. Can I get philosophical with you and a little psychological?
Sure.
Because all right,
yeah.
I just read a book by Jonathan Haidt. Have you recognized the name? Okay. Well, he's a social scientist, a social psychologist,
Okay.
and a fairly prolific author. But this book, The Happiness Hypothesis, he kind of goes through a lot of things, but he likens the mind as kind of like you're not just one like entity. It's kind of like there's a committee happening that are at odd purposes sometimes, and he likens it to the analogy he uses is is the unconscious mind, or like the embodied kind of thing, is like an elephant, and your conscious mind is like the rider of the elephant trying to guide it. But sometimes the elephant wants to do what it does regardless of what the rider wants. You know, it's like you can't logic your way out of certain things. What you have to do is train the elephant. And it's like you're helping people train the elephant.
It's a good visual for like what actually. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool
I've
way
heard
to.
of that before, but I've never read it. The Happiness Hypothesis.
All right.
That's
Yeah,
so cool.
I thought it was a very, very cool book.
Yeah.
I liked it. There's some chapters in the middle I was kind of like,
There's like
but
3 books you could write right there. Like,
Exactly.
Well, and then you can equate that to the scene in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where she's trying to steer the fucking elephant.
yeah,
And it won't cooperate. So, there you go.
yep.
hell yeah.
So old people like me can, I know what you're talking about.
Let us do the marketing for that.
Okay. You're hired.
So yeah, I mean, like basically everybody that knows Erin just knows that she's one of the most positive people, and so yeah, she's like perfect for the job.
Yep. I would say that about both of you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree.
just every time I see either of you, it's smiles and love and just positivity.
What the world needs
Vibe.
now.
That's
Vibe.
what the world needs. Yes.
Love, love, love. That's right.
Amen.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking of that earlier. Just as far as we just need people coming together and helping each other out, working together, and the things that we could
Absolutely.
accomplish.
And we really need to focus on our little areas, on our communities. Not
Right.
I think we're all just so overwhelmed because we have access to like all the
Everything.
information, and it's just
Yep.
like, but what about like our neighborhood, or like what about
Yes.
Oh, amen. I could not agree with you more on
yeah,
that.
know what?
because it's so overwhelming,
One
but
of
we
the
can do so much.
Best
Yes.
places to everybody get together and just meet as a community and work together in our small little area.
Spring Fling, man.
Spring Fling, baby.
Yes.
I'm a
That's right.
salesman
I'll
at
cheers
heart.
to that.
That's right.
All right.
Just our own little homegrown little project here.
organic.
Yeah, with some of the baddest freaking
The best.
bands around, because like Caddywompus, again, just a fun, groovy, good time.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun. I mean, there's gonna be things here and there, but yeah, we just have fun, and
Same with Traci and the Time Travelers.
Yeah.
Traci and Zach, they've been on the podcast a few times, if not more.
Also saying.
we went out and saw
Yeah.
them for St. Patty's Day. They were awesome, but then we saw them at the brewery the other night, and they were super tight.
Oh, that's good.
And so, I mean, yeah,
I
they're
feel
just,
so bad I did not make it out that night because we were working hard it was my daughter's birthday the next day.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to revamp her room and redo that. And I was like, we got done about 9 o'clock at night, and I was so wiped out. I was like, I can't do it.
I still need to hang up Kyra's artwork.
Yeah,
she
we got
gave
her.
to the guests.
Got the artwork we're going to put up on the refrigerator in here.
Oh, that's sweet.
You'll have to let her know.
All right. Yeah, she will be so excited about that. You don't even know.
I was over there trying to like crack her little kid code because she wrote Genesis over the top of it. I'm like, what does she mean?
Yeah.
I'll show you.
Really
I'll
good.
show you.
No idea.
I had a
Oh,
couple
I don't
theories
know.
running.
That kid's got some crazy imagination, dude.
She is. a
She
hero.
will dictate. She's like, Dad, I want to write a book. I'm like, okay. So I'll cut up some piece of paper like into fourths, and I'll staple it together so it looks like a book. I was like, all right, what's the first page? She's like, there was a cabin or a cottage in the woods, and a little girl lived there. I was like, okay, well, what's the next page?
Got it.
She'll dictate this whole story to me. We've done that, probably 5 or 6 times, but she's always telling
awesome.
stories. It's
She's a
it's
novelist.
awesome.
Naturally.
Yeah, she's a storyteller. It's cool.
I love it.
yeah, the girls.
She can be Erin's ghostwriter.
All of a sudden, it's like, why are there so many unicorns in this book? I don't know.
So our girls were in the living room the other day. Erin and I were in the kitchen, and we could hear them, and they're playing, and they were they had Darth Vader and the Emperor And they were vacationing at the beach.
Hell yeah.
Oh, as one would.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I hate sand.
Company retreat.
then and so we were just in there listening, cracking up. I mean, it was just
that's
like,
amazing.
really, Darth Vader at the beach, huh?
Yep.
Not,
Dude, they would get along with Kyra
yeah.
really well.
We need to get them together.
She's
soon.
You
like,
guys make parenting.
I've got
sound
3
so
husbands.
cool.
It's Darth Vader, the Hulk, and this kid at school. You know, it's like, what are you talking about?
That's awesome.
I worry about what kid I'd bring into this world. Because I know how I am. And then it's basically my job to parent that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm the granddad, so it'd be all right.
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be fine.
2 times the worst of the worst.
Nah, man. I
don't
mean,
know.
They'll
yeah,
cuss
you know,
like your mom,
You
but
turned
they'll be
out
a
all
busybody
right.
like me.
I did. I
that was one of the funnest things is like this last year when we were, well, earlier in the season last year when we were actually getting rain, I had dug out our pond, dug all the mud out of it. So basically it was just a sandstone bottom, and
That's awesome. That
It
must be a
was-
lot of work.
nice and
My
nice and
goodness.
nice
Oh,
and
yeah.
clear and everything, you know, like the water was fairly clean for a pond, you know. And so man, me and the girls, we'd swim out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also where they learned all their first cuss words too. Because I'd be out there like teaching them some stuff, you know.
They're homeschooled, so they have to learn it somewhere.
But
So
that's right.
and then we'd come back to the house and
Gotta
It's a
prepare.
social-
they'd be like, Dad taught me shit, you know,
He taught me all the shit.
right?
All of a sudden, like, but Barbie said you're a son of a bitch.
Right. Yeah, like
Darth
Mom,
Vader said, "Fuck this, I'm out."
I
she just
remember-
called me a dumbass, Dad, or whatever, you know.
How old are the girls
They're 8
now?
and 6.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a fun age.
Yeah,
That's
it is
cool.
fun. It is really
Yeah.
fun because they're like more hands off than they used to be. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
nice too.
It's like
'cause you
they're full on little people now.
can- yeah, it is
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was an angel, so
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
Yeah.
I was perfect, the perfect son.
Yeah.
You've only had 2, so
I love all my kids.
To
I've
be
got
fair,
got a
if the second
stepson.
one had been
I've
first,
got
it
a
wouldn't be
17-year-old daughter, and I've got Kyra who's just turned 5. I love them all, but the older 2, nightmares. Like the younger one, so easy,
Right.
but they're all amazing. For now. She's probably saving it all up.
she keep listening to EdgeOverEdge. She'll turn out.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. Well, shoot, we've gone on for quite a bit here, so maybe we ought to let you go home and
But-
get back to your kiddos.
Before we do that, though,
Okay.
I do think it's very important to acknowledge that I think this podcast has done a very good job of highlighting just how much both of you guys do. Like, you
For
guys-
our communities and as an example to others, and just giving to others with music and your food, your time.
and the health lessons.
Yeah, so appreciate you
Awesome.
both.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And dedicating you guys this time to come down and play at the Spring Fling.
Yes.
We're really
Can't wait for
yeah,
the spring fling.
really looking forward to it. And yeah, with the whole science of debacle and whatever, I'm glad that hopefully it's all working out, and
It seems to be. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm keeping the keeping the radar up just in case, but they're telling me that they've got somebody to fill in for Ashley, and
So as
Well-
of right now, the Science Hub will be there, and they are honestly one of the they're a band that even if I didn't know who they were, even if I just happened upon them, I'd probably be playing their album all the time. I just really love their music, so I'm excited for them to be here.
they're the type of band that I would never in a million years seek out.
Right.
It's just not the type of music that I generally look for. But being able to discover them, I'm hooked, and they're a great band.
Yeah.
Nice.
Catchy. Yeah.
And then
It's like first time I watched you guys, I was like, oh, this is great. It's just great.
Not to mention Traci and the Time.
Oh, and
Of course.
yeah.
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 And I mean, those guys are probably, I don't know. I'm having trouble saying it, but this is how I feel. I think that they're just the best musicians in our area. Technically speaking, I think they're the best musicians.
They're like
Jeremy
session
Alex?
music.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
session musicians, man. They just,
Right.
yeah.
They're
Traci's
they
vocals?
just kill it.
Yeah.
They kill it. So
Like, Traci, if you're listening to this, you have to start singing vocals on Flosion. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
right.
I was lucky
We got
enough.
the powerhouse
yeah.
of musicians. We got to hear it.
You know, we played this house party a couple years ago, and I just had the idea. I was playing it by myself, just a solo thing, and Traci and them were playing, and then a couple other people were playing also. And I was just like, man, at the end of the night, we should all just play the weight together by the band, And so, everybody kind of worked on it in their own time and everything, and then I met up with Traci and them out at their rehearsal spot, and we went through it a couple of times, and then it was just like
It was awesome.
it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun playing with those guys, and so
I really
You-
want to hear that.
Yeah,
we worked-
I know. It was
we
so
worked
cool.
up like
Spring Fling.
hey, if we need to kill some time, maybe. But we added like 3 or 4 more songs then after that, and I sat in with them one night up at Uncle Jack's when they were playing. I went up and played like 4 songs with them, and I mean it's so fun, man.
Yeah.
I mean playing with those guys, and
So all the people in all of these bands are just some of the most positive, awesome people that I know, and I'm privileged to call them all my friends, and they all create such awesome music, and I just cannot wait for this opportunity to show all of these bands off to people. So I just want to encourage everyone listening to come out on May 6th to My Place Bar in Cherryvale, Kansas. It'll be outdoors. The weather should be amazing. Early May, you can't beat it. So we're going to have a blast, and you should be there.
Stay Mayo.
Yeah, the little hair of the dog to nurse your hangover.
Yeah, if I'm not too hungover on tequila, man, I'll probably no.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Certainly appreciate
We
it.
had an awesome time. That was
Yeah.
fun.
All right,
Thank
stay
you guys
tuned.
for having us.
Oh, we'll have you back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for
We'll
sure.
be back.
I'm
Book
gonna need
review.
gardening
Book
tips.
drops.
The book review. The book review.
And Off the Edge podcast has taken kind of a little hiatus here, but we are firmly in
Behold my stuff.
I think it was a success tonight, though. I mean, everything worked, and
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
in the new spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some little tweaks to make, but we'll make them.
Yeah, the big ass arms are
Yeah, like
change.
this all night.
I'm like, am I in the shot?
Isn't this my good side?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm all good side.
Well, all right. Thank you again for everything, and we'll see you all next time.